That's fine. No problem. Brewers lose, and in doing so, you've got Christian Yelich going on the DL. In addition to that, you've got Keston Hiura that it's getting time to kind of look at Keston here and say, okay, what are you going to do? We've talked time and again about whether or not, how many at-bats, say, does it take for somebody to finally say, okay, enough? But, man, it's just it's getting hard to watch him at the plate. He's almost just a guy that's going to stand up and take the automatic out. He's just a liability in the lineup at this point. So Keston Hiura, not offensively playing the way you would want him to. 877-867-1670 is the phone number. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. Also on Facebook, go to facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. Facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. YouTube and on Twitch TV. You can find us at The Bill Michaels. Email the show, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. That's the. And you can also find us over on the website, which is simply thebillmichaels.com, thebillmichaels.com. I got to apologize first and foremost. It's not that I'm hungover from the weekend or anything like that. On Thursday, flying down to Florida, I started to kind of feel some pain in my jaw. And I thought I had like a piece of something, like, you get something stuck in your tooth and it just doesn't come out and it starts to hurt. I thought I had something to that effect, and apparently I don't. So I went to the dentist first thing when I got back this morning because it's been keeping me up at night, and apparently I have something in my jaw. I don't know specifically what it is. I got to go see some specialists today, but I'm on a little bit of pain meds and some anti-inflammatories, and hopefully I get through this by the end of the show and not start slurring my words or talking funny. I didn't want to take anything long before I went on the air, so I just took it when I went on the air, so as to not to be writhing in pain, but also not to be too loopy as the show went on. It's just one of those days. It just is. It's when you always come back from vacation, and not only is coming back from a mini vacation, it wasn't like a week-long trip. It was just 2 days, but to come back and you're always in that mode of, okay, one, I can't wait to get back, or two, oh, God, it wasn't long enough. It was great. It was a perfect vacation. I'll tell you more about that coming up a little bit later, but it was great to get away for a couple of days and kind of enjoy some white sand beaches and just kind of take it easy and not do a whole hell of a lot, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, it was like you squeezed a lot into a couple of days, don't get me wrong, but it was, how do I put this? It was a lot of action in a very laid-back pace, if that makes sense. There was a lot going on in a very laid-back way. I will say this, and not to get off on any kind of a tangent here, but Florida is wide open. I mean, unless you are in the elderly phase, or you have like an underlying condition and you really do need to wear a mask, which, hey, if you got to protect yourself, do that. But I'll tell you this, there was no masks, no limitations, no nothing. Wide open. Sat with a couple of people who were doctors, talked to them a little bit about what's going on down there and how it's been, since they kind of relaxed all the restrictions and such. And it was just really interesting, kind of the things that they had to say. But to go from that to this, back to our life the way we have it, a little bit interesting. But it was a much needed vacation. It was just absolutely awesome. So anyway, glad to be back. Very much glad to be back. 877-867-1670. At what point, if you're the Brewers, do you say enough? At what point, if you're the Brewers, do you say enough as far as the Keston Hiura situation? Because Keston Hiura is just not doing anything. He's a liability in your lineup, big time. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Keston Hiura has been He's had opportunities. He is taking a few walks here and there, but still sitting at 116. He's got 40. He's creeping up on 50 at bats. We talked about that, between 50 and 100 at bats. He's got 43 at bats. 40. He's 5 for 43 with a couple of doubles, one dinger. He's now, at least now, he's got 5 walks, because remember, for a long time he didn't even have a walk to his name. So he's taking the ball more. He seems to have a better eye at the plate. But a 269 on base percentage, a slugging percentage of 233, 502 OPS. Got a couple of errors on the season. He's grounded into a couple of double plays. He's been hit by 4 pitches. Those are kind of his numbers, his line, if you will. But at what point do you say, you know what? Are you just waiting for Colton Wong to return? And once Colton Wong comes back and shows that, he can handle the day-to-day, that you go ahead and make the move with Keston Hiura? You know what I mean? Because at what point do you just say, okay, enough? I think just my opinion, I think that Colton Wong's going to return. Keston Hiura is going to go down, and they're going to tell him, just go down and try to figure things out. Now, the other thing is, when he goes down, does he play second or does he play first, or does it matter? I think he did have just going back, because I didn't watch a whole lot of Brewers baseball, but just going back and rewatching some of the games that I had taped while we were gone. Just watching that, he played a pretty good first base on Saturday. I thought he had a couple of good defensive plays, but to watch him at the plate, he's guessing. He's just kind of flailing at certain things. Still has a tendency at times to hit the ball hard, and you believe that as long as guys are hitting the ball hard, they're eventually going to start finding the holes. But you can go through a whole season like that, where you just hit the ball really hard, but you're just not finding the holes. So your average obviously is going to suffer. Your OPS is obviously going to suffer. Your on-base percentage is obviously going to suffer. So you can be hitting the ball. He's not taking as many. He's not swinging and flailing at as many strikeouts as he once was, and he is taking some walks now. But just overall, he's not getting it done. It's in some at bats, it's tough to watch, and usually in your second to third year, is when teams start to figure you out. That's when Major League pitching starts to catch up with you. And it looks like pitching has not only caught up with him, but his ability to adjust has been either one, extremely slow, or almost non-existent. Because some of the things that we've wanted him to do, such as not going after that, eye-high fastball or that riser up and in, where he doesn't get his arms out, doesn't really have the ability to hit that pitch. He's been better with that. But still, if they bust him up and in, you can almost look at it and say they're going to go once, maybe twice up and in, and they're going to bust him low and away with a breaking ball, and he's flailing at it. So he hasn't really figured it out. They've pitched him much, much smarter. 877-867-1670. If you want to chime in, do so. Give me your thoughts with Keston Hiura. Now you've got Christian Yelich going down with the back injury. And a back injury for a baseball player, or specifically for a guy like Yelich, more of a power hitter, a guy that is not a big muscular dude. He gets his power from his quickness and getting the bat through the strike zone. So when you have back issues and the inability to twist, bring the hips through quickly, that is concerning. It's the same thing for like a golfer who has a back injury. It's something that you begin to then create bad habits because of it, and you really genuinely begin to worry about a guy that has a back injury. Christian Yelich, don't get me wrong, still hitting .333. Does not have a home run to his name yet. Only 1 RBI in the season. And his strikeout totals have stayed low. Obviously hasn't played now for more than a few games. But he at least is giving you, he's got the eye. He's got the ability to make that contact. But now that they put him on that 10-day injured list, and that's a little disconcerting when it comes to the back injury. So 877-867-1670, chime in. Mark says, I think the Brewers are almost done. The rash of injuries and the fact that they cannot hit the baseball, this is far too reminiscent of a couple of years ago when they just weren't able to put the balls in play, weren't able to score runs, and their pitching was hung out to dry. We've seen this. We've seen this story before. I agree with. This has been something that in the past it has looked very similar. Fred says Shura is stubborn. I haven't noticed any real difference in his approach at the plate. The only thing I can say in his approach at the plate is he has laid off of more of, not all of, but more of those rising fastballs, those fastballs that are up and in. Those are the pitches that were consistently getting him out, not only in spring training, but once we got to the regular season that he was fishing for. And we have not seen him go after nearly as many of those as we have. Now, I agree with you, though. He has still got the propensity to go after those and still the propensity to strike out. Jacob says, yeah, it's probably time to send Hira down. I would pay Vogelback at first base like him, or play Vogelback at first base like him more than Keston for now. Am I wrong for believing that Vogelback over Keston? No. Vogelback, yesterday, Vogelback put up more production than Hira has all season long. So, no, you're not wrong. Look, Craig Counsell has said time and again that you eventually just have to go with the hot hand. If your team as a team is struggling, you eventually have to go with the hot hand. And that's what the Brewers eventually, if now being forced to do it because of, because of injury, they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to do it anyway because of the early injuries to this team. You know, you've had obviously the injury to Lorenzo Cain. You got Colton Wong. You got Keston. And Hero, remember, was a guy that you were relying upon to have a bounce back season, to be a part of the offense, to bolster this offense, to be able to hit around Christian Yelich, to be protected by and or to protect Christian Yelich. And he hasn't done anything. I mean, nothing at all. Imagine where this team would be without a guy like, say, Travis Shaw. You know? And the amount of, he's got 24 total bases on the season. He's only behind Avisel Garcia by 1 base. Garcia's got 3 home runs. So does Travis Shaw. Travis Shaw leads the team in RBI. So if it wasn't for Travis Shaw and really Garcia to a certain extent, I mean, it would be like, holy mackerel, where would this team be? 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. This is from Donald, who says Vogelbach has that Adam Dunn ability from what I see. Home run or a strikeout. That's a good comparison. That's a really good comparison. You're right. He's kind of an all or nothing guy. He does, though. He will give you some extra base hits. And I'm not talking home runs, but he will take a few down the line or off the fence. Not that he's a speedster where he's going to stretch a single into a double, because that guy's carrying a beer wagon. We all know that. But he does. He is. That's a good comparison, Donald. That's a really good comparison. So if you want to hit us up and respond to any of this, feel free to go ahead and do so. I'll tell you a little bit more about the vacation coming up in the next hour of the program. And again, I apologize a little bit for the voice, a little bit for the speech today, just for the fact that the whole facial area and jaw and stuff is somewhat swollen. And thanks to all of you following us on the Bud Light live stream. We appreciate that. Bud Light, one of our premier sponsors, the presenter of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. Also our friends, you can pick up some Bud Lights over there at Quick Trip, the official fuel and convenience store sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. Going to go ahead and step away for the first time today. Take a quick break. We're going to come back. Got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show to get to. Hang in there. We'll be back right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Bill Michaels Show. We continue on this Monday, the 19th. Brewers lose 2 out of 3 to the Pirates over the weekend. And I got to be honest, on Friday, I didn't do a whole lot of anything. We were out, spent the whole day. We were on Marco Island down in Florida. And kind of a friend of a friend has an unbelievable home down there. And when you get a chance to use a home like that for nothing, you know, it's not like I just all of a sudden said, hey, I'm taking off. But when that opportunity came up, couldn't really pass it up. And a real dear friend of mine said, hey, come on down and just take a load off for a little while. And Kristen and I jumped at the chance and went down for a few days and laid on the white sand beaches and did some day drinking and some night drinking and went to some awesome places, starting out with Rocky Patel's place. And if you're a cigar smoker, you know exactly what I'm talking about down in Marco Island and in Naples and such. And it was a wonderful trip. But I didn't pay much attention. All of a sudden on Friday night, I look at the score and I'm like, the Brewers lost to the Pirates? Are you kidding me? And then they had that big offensive explosion on Saturday and then come back and lose it in extras yesterday. Just a little disheartening because you felt that they were starting to get on that roll. You know what I mean? You kind of felt like, you know, they get 2 out of 3 from the Cubs and they get that underway, and then they go into St. Louis and play some pretty good baseball, and you're kind of thinking, you know, this is good. This is something that you can kind of hang your hat on. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still only a game behind Cincinnati, who Cincinnati has come crashing back down to earth. And Cincinnati, lost yesterday as well. But after getting off to that fast start of 6-1, over the last 10, they've gone 5-5. Meanwhile, the Brewers are 6-4 in the last 10. You got the Cubs right now who are just toiling away. It doesn't pain me to say that the Cubs are worse off than the Pirates right now. But the Brewers are hanging right in there. St. Louis only a couple of games back. But you kind of thought that the Brewers had some momentum going, that this is going to be a good thing. Okay, they've shaken off the early season woes, and they're going to go on a little bit of a roll here. And it just has not materialized the way you thought it would. And like I said, that game on Saturday, they get off to that fast start on Saturday, and you thought, oh, okay, here we go. The bats are waking up. This is awesome. And it just kind of turned to crap. They get the 7-1 win after plating 7 runs in the first 2 innings, and after that, they didn't do anything. This goes back to when you and I were talking last week before, I left on vacation, to say this team doesn't play 2 runs here and a run here and 3 runs here. They play 7 runs and then don't hit again. You know what I mean? Yesterday, though, they did give you the 5 runs, but they just kind of slowed their roll. So Fire Rising ends up taking a loss yesterday in the 10th inning, and that whole runner starting at second. I'm finding myself, even when it favors the Brewers, I just don't like starting a runner at second. I just don't. It just, I know there's some consternation as to whether or not Josh Hader should have been pitching in the 10th after coming in the 9th. They're only going to use him 1 inning. Craig Counsell stating that we're only going to, right now, we're going to utilize him as a traditional closer and not burn him up on innings and such. It just, I know that there's some people that disagree with the decision, and that's where the criticism has been heaped upon Craig Counsell. But I get it. They want to morph him into that consistently because that's the best utilization for his skills and his power stuff. But yeah, it's to take that loss with that guy the runner starting at second base. I've never been a fan of that. I know it's the old man, get off my lawn, traditionalist type of stuff. It does make it exciting. It does give you more of an inclination to watch and be a part of it rather than going, I'm going to walk away until the bottom of the inning, because you're automatically starting off for the runner in scoring position. But it just, I've never been a fan of it. Never been a fan. 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. You got a couple people over on the Facebook side of things. Carl says, even if it's the Bucks, hard to win with Yelich, Wong, Kane sitting with injuries. Nice to see with 3 starters out, you can still be competitive. Carl, that is the brighter side to look at. You are true. Donald says, I think the Brewers need to quit worrying about Keston's arm and give one position that he feels comfortable in playing. That is a young man who just needs confidence. Well, they gave him that last year. They gave him that last year. He was the second baseman. He was the starter and struggled. He was the guy and struggled. So they switched him to first. And I can't fault them for going after Colton Wong, a better hitter, a Gold Glover. You've got Gold Glove up the middle. Defensively speaking, you are an incredibly solid team. And what you're trying to do is, if you can eliminate on season average maybe a half a run to a run a game, on average, then you're going to win a lot more ball games. It's probably going to give you anywhere from 5 to maybe 7 more wins a year when you have that kind of defense in your outfield. So I understand why they did it. And you got a guy that's been there, done that, and the capability to win a ring. You got another veteran coming into a clubhouse that knows how to get there. So I don't have as opposed to a Keston Hiura, who's a young up-and-comer guy who came with a lot of positivity and glowing ratings coming out of the minor league system and an incredible start to his rookie campaign, but has not been able to follow that up, nor has he followed that up even this season to that same extent, to where, yeah, you moved him over, but what is the true equivalent to moving a position to the effect it has on your offensive output? If anything, you would say my offensive outputs, in some cases, should shine, or maybe that offensive output would then equate, as we've seen it in the past, to say Orlando Arcia, equate to defensive issues, because Orlando Arcia has always been an incredible defender until you saw over the last couple of years when he began to struggle really, really bad offensively, that it started to affect his defense as well, because he started to take some of the woes of his offense out into the field, where his offensive efficiency, while it didn't drop a ton, but it did take a little bit of a dip. Scott says, my thought from yesterday that if Freddie didn't make one mistake pitch, it's a different game. That I agree with. Carl says, I agree that second base thing is whack. Calvin also says, I think we as a team are up and down. The starting pitching has been excellent. Bullpen has been up and down. Vogelback needs to be in the lineup and put Keston on the bench or send him down to figure out his appearances at the plate. I think they're going to send him down as soon as Colton Wong comes back. I mean, unless he starts lighting it up, he will have 50 at-bats. Whether Colton Wong comes back today or comes back, in the next week, we'll wait and see. But as soon as he's eligible to come back, and he can come back and play well, then I think you're going to probably see Keston Hiura. They're going to say, look, you're at 50 at-bats, 50-plus at-bats. You're going to have to go figure this out in the minors, because you're just not getting good looks. And they're going to continue to pitch you the same way until you figure it out. 8-7, and now he doesn't have the protection in the lineup. With Christian Yelich going down, your lineup has become exponentially weaker. 877-867-1670. Hit us up so many ways. You can follow us over on Twitter as well. Follow me there. Facebook fan page, all kinds of good stuff. All kinds of good stuff. Pizza Man says, I think it's time for Keston Hiura to go down. Yelich is probably still ailing from some of the bad habits that he picked up last year after nursing the injury and coming back. And Lorenzo Cain is an aging veteran, and we're going to have to deal with this all season long. I don't see this team winning more than 82 games. I'm not ready to throw in the prediction factor in all of this. I'm going to stick with my prediction, because I think if this team comes back and they're back at full strength and healthy, they're going to be good. I'm not worried about that. I mean, let's be honest. As much consternation as we have right now, and there's an angst to this. But when you look at it, they're only a game back in the standings, right? They're an 8-win ball club. I mean, unless you're sitting out in the West where the top three teams are 13, 9, and 10 wins, other than that, they're an 8-win ball club. They're right there in the thick of things. Philadelphia's 8-7, only a game behind the Mets, because the Mets haven't played as many games. They're 7-4. But they would have the most wins, or tied for the most wins in the East. They would be sitting fourth right now, ahead of Arizona out in the West. It'd be the Dodgers, San Francisco, and San Diego by those standards. You've got Boston right now leading the East. Tampa Bay's an 8-win team. Kansas City's a 9-win team leading the Central. And Seattle's a 10-win team, surprisingly, out in the West, as Houston has fallen on hard times. Let's go to the phone calls. Who we got? We got Mike. Mike, welcome to the program, man. What's going on?
Well, when I watched Peralta pitch to Moran, my son and I were watching, and I was like, I was saying as he's coming up, he's their best hitter. He just hit a homer, in one of his last at-bats. And then I'm going, well, of course, they've got to pitch around this guy. The announcers are even saying there's a right-handed hitter coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And Freddie puts a ball that's hittable, and I was like, how can the pitching coach and the bench not tell him, don't give him anything to hit? And one pitch loses the game for them. And I can't believe it was a mistake. I just think it was like, they should have maybe even intentionally walked him. They pop up the next guy, they won the game. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Moran with the 3-run dinger seemed to be on yesterday, no doubt. Although you look at it and you think, well, maybe there was something in the matchups that they looked at. I will say this, though. I give Moran credit, because that ball was low and inside. Wasn't even in the strike zone, and he went down and fished and got it. But it was low and inside, and he was an inside hitter.
Wow, that isn't the way I saw the pitch. The pitch was out over the plate away from him, so I have a totally different view.
I'm sitting there looking at the highlight right now. It was low and inside, and he just kind of squatted down and went and got it.
To the opposite field.
Yeah, no, the one that he pulled down the line, the double to bring in Reynolds.
No, I'm talking about the homer.
Oh, the homer. No. The homer. Oh, that's completely different. Yes, you are correct. You are correct. He has been.
I'm talking about the homer the ball was out over the plate.
Yes.
And it was more center plate away, and he took it to the opposite field.
He took it to the opposite
field. He won the
field.
game for him.
Yep. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
I've been enjoying your show today. I'm over in Madison and got to go to a game with my daughter. My God, a daughter date. You know, that was so special in Milwaukee. And now Friday, my Cubs fan buddy and I go down for the 120 game on Friday.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I'm the Brewers. Yeah, just to get the tickets. What a treat. Just to be in the stands.
Yep, no doubt about it.
Love your show. Thanks.
Appreciate it, pal. Talk to you soon. He drops off. You get on board 877-867-1670. Yeah, the home run he hit, that was up and on the outside portion of the plate. And he went out and got it, but that was a belt-high fastball, and that was a mistake. You're not throwing that pitch to him there. As a matter of fact, if you look at the setup in that, it was actually the way because you had the catcher on the outside portion of the plate, like out of the strike zone. They wanted that out of the strike zone. And instead, he just put it more on the corner, and he just went out and got it. This game over. 877-867-1670. This one's from Phil, who said the Brewers just need to get healthy. You have to be pleased that with all the starters they have out, there's still in every one of these games, players are stepping up, and this will just help as the season moves forward. Now that is kind of glass half full. You know, that glass is half full. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up. Feel free to go ahead and do so. More of the Bill Michaels Show is coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
I know the weather right now is not the best, but it's going to get better. We all know that, right? If you are looking to do any riding this year, motorcycle-wise, there is only one place in the state of Wisconsin to go to, and that's the best dealership in the state of Wisconsin. And that's our friends over there at Wisconsin Harley Davidson. Not only do they have a huge selection of all the motor clothes, all the accessories, but they are taking orders for bikes. They are bringing bikes in every day. They've had a huge selection, and every time they get a huge selection, they get a rush because they get a lot of exclusive and very unique motorcycles in 2021s. They had a great stock of used bikes, and now they're getting even more. And I was just talking to Craig when I got back last night, the general manager over there, and they've got a terrific selection of motorcycles. And if there's something specific you're looking for, they can get you that as well. So give them a shot. They're kind of, Wisconsin's best, literally as voted upon by the dealership, or excuse me, by the corporation, Harley Davidson. But not only are they the best, but they are centrally located between Milwaukee and Madison. They're a big part of our motorcycle ride each and every year. They've got a terrific service department. Scott and everybody over in the parts department, they can get you whatever you need. Just great people over there. Jody and Motor Clothes is fantastic, and they buy the really good stuff, the hip and trendy stuff, not the stuff that's boxy and makes you look like you're carrying twins, whether you're a male or female for that matter. But they got a lot of good stuff over there. Go to wishd.com. That's wish, WISHD.com, wishd.com. Follow them on Facebook. Follow them on Instagram as well. They post a lot of stuff. New bikes, events are always coming up. As a matter of fact, they got their first bike night coming up here in about a month. So they're going to have a lot of good things happening. As a matter of fact, I think the first bike night is in June, the beginning of June. So they got a Wednesday night bike night coming up. So a lot of events, not to mention, they have the best and biggest Milwaukee Rally Weekend party out of all the dealerships. Hands down, they have become the place to go. Hands down. Stages in the front, stages in the back. I mean, start making your plans to not only come and be a part of our motorcycle ride, our charity motorcycle ride, but also to make plans to be at Wisconsin Harley Davidson during the Wisconsin Milwaukee Rally. So good stuff there. And that's our friends at WISHD.com, wishd.com. Talk us of Brewers baseball, and the Brewers lose a couple to the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I know it's not the start that you wanted. It is encouraging, the fact that they've been in all of these games. They're only a game behind Cincinnati. They've scraped out 8 wins. That's kind of the bright side. As much as you would like to see them have more wins, the fact that they've had injuries and haven't hit the ball probably gives you more of a hope when it comes to the pitching side of things. You know what I mean? 877-867-1670. Eric says the fact that you can't recognize many of the names in the lineup and they can stay with Pittsburgh is good to see. Bad news is if Yelich is back, ends up being a yearly thing, which it can be, his contract is going to kill this team for years to come. Let's pray baseball-wise, Yelich's back is not a thing we will have to deal with on a yearly basis. And more importantly, let's hope he is healthy and good from a human standpoint, of course. 877-867-1670. Chris says, let's look at the positives. Garcia and Narvaez are who we thought we got last year. Urias is starting to hit. Jackie Bradley Jr. on an 8-game hit streak. McKinney is hitting the ball. It's a long season. We won't win every series. No. But with the things that have gone on, you'd like to be able to win more of these series. You'd like to be able to, how do I put this? You'd like to be able to consistently win series. You'd rather have the loss of a series be an anomaly. You know what I mean? Jackie says, I think the Brewers are going to be just fine. The injuries they've sustained, let's get them out of the way now rather than have them happen in July or August when you're making the stretch run. Hang in there, Brewers fans. This team is going to win a lot of games. I agree with many of you who say it's time to send Hira down. I think it's going to be, if he doesn't start hitting the ball in the next week, he's got to go back to the minors. He's got to go back to the minors. You can't keep him up here. And once Colton Wong comes back, down he goes. And I don't care if he plays first or second base in the minors. Just go back and get your swing down. And I don't bring him up until he's starting to hit at least 250, 300 or better down in the minors and starting to show some of the power numbers. Because he's not right. He doesn't have an eye. And I'll tell you this, the more he becomes a liability in the lineup, let's be honest, he's going up there almost looking at times if it's – do you see it or is it just me? There are times he goes to the plate and he looks tight and he looks like, oh, God, almost like he doesn't want to do this. I mean, hitters want to hit regardless. You want to hit your way out of it. But there's times he looks as if he's walking up to the plate like, oh, God, I don't want to make another out. I just can't make another out. Almost, I'm not going to say afraid because I'm never going to say afraid. But as if there's an angst of, oh, I don't want to come up in this situation because I'm not hitting the ball well. You know what I mean? 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. Give us a shout. And this was from Marcy. Marcy says, still a lot of faith in my Milwaukee Brewers. It was great to go to the game over the weekend and be a part of the group of fans that were there. I still don't understand why they're spreading us out the way they are. We can all go to the bar and drink prior to the game, but we can't go to a baseball game and enjoy ourselves. You know what? I understand that. That's a whole other thing we'll talk about later in the program. But right now, on one hand, you look at it as, hey, you're back at a baseball game. Enjoy yourself. You know, completely get it. You know, I was saying that this past weekend when Kristen and I flew down to Marco Island down in Florida. You can go to the airport bar, take your mask off, and everybody's sitting there within 2-3 feet of each other, and they're packed in, and you're having a beverage, and you're talking to the neighbors next to you, and you're sharing stories, and you're laughing and having a great time. But once you get on the plane, if it's not covering your face or your nose, you have to leave the plane. I just, I get it. That there's a precaution, but it's a lot of window dressing right now. And you just got to kind of fight through it, Got to kind of fight through it. Things will get better. Things are going to get better. I promise you that. Things are going to get better. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. 877-867-1670. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show to come right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Coming up after the top of the hour, Dan Shonka from Our Lads Scouting Service is going to join us. And today is like Christmas. For those that are following over on the Bud Light live stream, and I'll show it to you. This is what you want right here. The Our Lads Draft Guide. Right there. There it is. Oh, love this thing. I came home from, now I haven't had a chance to go through the whole thing. I started this morning after I got back from the dentist office. But this is what, if you're into the draft at all, look at this. If you can see over on the Bud Light live stream, that's just one player. Look how comprehensive it is. Well, they just break it down. Every player that's going to be eligible in the draft, for the most part, is in this book. Almost every one of them. They give you the ratings, what they base it upon. It goes through the schools. It goes through early, scouts, late scouts. It goes through each school, how many schools have different players that are coming out. Like it goes through Alabama, it goes through Ohio State, it goes through Notre Dame, it goes through all the different, every school that's got somebody coming into the draft, it goes through, it gives you all, which they should have had this years ago when they announced that Brett Favre was a draft choice, because they give you all the phonetical ways to say the name as well. And it also gives you what I consider to be a terrific mock draft. And they've got Greg Rousseau, the defensive end out of Miami. In the first mock draft, going to the Green Bay Packers, just FYI. So that being said, it's a terrific draft resource. So we're going to talk with Dan Shonka from Our Lad Scouting Services coming up here after the top of the hour. Stay tuned for that. Looking forward to it. Got a couple people over on the Facebook side of things. Kinger says, I'll stick with Mel Kiper Jr.'s reports. Why? Mel Kiper is, don't get me wrong, Mel Kiper, I think, is good and knowledgeable. Mel Kiper to me seems like at times more about the hype than he is about actually being correct, if that makes sense. And when he's wrong, he never admits he's wrong. That's the other thing that drives me, bananas about Mel Kiper. When he's wrong, he's like, no, that's not what I heard, and he'll go off with something else and then blame it on something else. It's like, no, dude, you're wrong. That and the fact that Mel Kiper says everybody's great. Everybody's great. I love it when him and Todd McShay get into it. Calvin says, I feel like, to me, after the Brewers gave Yelich a big contract a few years back, he just seems more injured and just doesn't seem like the same when we first got him. He got his contract last year prior to the pandemic. He got it last year. It was, oh, by the way, there's something going on in China, because we were out at spring training when it happened. Something going on in China. It's called COVID. It may come to this country. Christian Yelich is getting a deal. Yay. Go to the press conference. Wait a minute. We're starting to get more and more cases of COVID in this country. Yay. And then it was like, we're shutting everything down. And then last year, remember, he was coming back from that kneecap injury. And didn't really have much of a season last year. A season in which a lot of guys struggled last year. And this year, I can look at it this way. Maybe last season, because of the knee injury, and we all know this, you hear this all the time, when a player or just a person in general has an injury, they tend to overcompensate with other portions of their body to make the injury less of a hindrance. And when you do that, you start to use different muscles, you move differently, and it can cause issues. Now, I don't know if his back issues have come from that or not. Who the hell am I to make a judgment on that? Maybe it's just something to where, he was out playing in the yard with the kids one day and he tweaked his back. I mean, I don't know. I think we've all done that. He could have been out pulling weeds. He gets home, got the house out there in California. Wife says, did you see the size of that dandelion out front? Go get that. He bends over, and while he's bending over, he's grabbing a newspaper too, something he doesn't normally do, and just tweaks the back. And maybe the muscle just hasn't responded properly yet. Who knows? It's happened like that for everybody, right? One of my first jobs, I was a general manager of a restaurant years ago, late 80s. And I was putting the night deposit in the safe and bent over to put the night deposit in the safe, sitting on my chair, and my back went bloop, and that was it. I literally had to be carried out of there and taken to a hospital to get an injection. So who knows? Who knows what happens? Not that I'm in any kind of a Major League Baseball player's shape, but it is what it is. Kinger says Alex Smith retiring from football. I did not see that. If that just came across, I did not see that. I don't know. I don't know if he is or not. I have not watched Twitter. Yeah, there it is. Quarterback Alex Smith announces his retirement from his 16-year career. Think about that. Alex Smith taken first overall over Aaron Rodgers, now retiring from the NFL after a tremendous comeback season last year, after just working so hard not to lose his leg, but not only not to lose his leg, but to come back and play well in the NFL. He's just not a part of that franchise's future, unfortunately. So they were moving on, and he just doesn't have any suitors, so call it a career. But, man, I was so glad to see him get some time last year. It was a tremendous story. Coming up next, let's talk some NFL draft. Dan Shonka from the Ourlads Scouting Service. Our good buddy Dan is going to join us next on the Bill Michaels Show. Stay tuned.
Got me stone cold.
Crisp red apples with fresh strawberries.
Also, another shot from Avisail Garcia. The Brewers would lose the rubber match to the Pittsburgh Pirates at American Family Field 6-5 yesterday in 10 innings. Here's more from manager Craig Counsell.
I mean, it was a clean game today, period. I mean, they played a good game. That's what I think. They were solid. Their bullpen, they had to use a lot of relievers. They pitched well, and they got a couple big hits, and there was no mistakes on their part.
The Brewers now hit the road. They'll go to San Diego to take on the Padres tonight. First pitch is at 9:10. Brandon Woodruff is on the mound opposite of Joe Musgrove. To the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks are in the midst of a 4-game homestand. This will be game 2 of said stand as they welcome in the Phoenix Suns to the Pfizer Forum tonight for a 7 o'clock tip.
From the kennel to the coop, whatever the season, Fleet Farm has everything to keep your animals happy and healthy. From training your pup to sit season to mastering those retrieval skills season. From clipping your horse for competition season to keeping the backyard birds well-fed season. And of course, loving your pets like family season. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, you don't need it. Because we have it all. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
Wisconsin football opens up their season September 4th at Camp Randall against the Penn State Nittany Lions. But before that, there's some position battles to be had. That's what they're doing right now in spring football. Here's more from head coach Paul Chryst.
Spring ball, I don't think necessarily declares who the starters are necessarily going to be. But I think in spring, you've got to put yourself out there and you've got to prove that you can do something, that you can give something to the team that makes you valuable, worthwhile of the playing time. And then you got to be able to do that consistently. 5 more
spring practices remain for Bucky. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Bill Michaels Show, we continue on, second hour, and we're going to talk with our buddy Dan Shonka from Ourlads Scouting Service coming up here momentarily. I want to let you know, coming up here in the next segment of the program, a major announcement coming out of the city of Milwaukee. A major announcement, and I think all of you are going to be, I've alluded to this, but it is now official, and it is going to happen, and I am unbelievably thrilled that they sent it to me and then sent it to the rest of the media, but it just came across just moments ago, and we will let you know what it is as far as life getting back to normal. I'll let you know what that is coming up here in just a moment. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. And time now to talk a little NFL draft. Our good buddy Dan Shonka from Ourlads Scouting Service joining us on the line. Dan, how you doing?
Real good, Bill. Yeah, it won't be long now, less than 2 weeks before we find out where these guys are the quarterbacks are going to go, and then the Scout Super Bowl is underway.
I got to ask you, as somebody who's been in this game a long time, and I've asked quite a few people over the last 2 weeks about this, what you see happening in Green Bay, this whole thing with Aaron Rodgers and contracts and all of that different stuff, is there a sense to this that we're missing? Because this seems to be just kind of a real head scratcher right now. Before we get into the draft, this just seems to be weird. Give me your perspective on this.
No, I agree 100%. I don't really understand what the thought process is in regards to team building and helping, maybe one of the best 2 quarterbacks or 3 quarterbacks in the NFL help Green Bay go to another Super Bowl. And so it's very unusual. And, it's all about team building and getting the players in to help. I mean, when you got one of the best quarterbacks in the world, you think you do everything. But, the thing is, Bill, it's not only isolated to Green Bay. I mean, Seattle, I don't know what they're doing. They have no idea of what they're doing up there. And I don't think these teams sometimes appreciate how great a quarterbacks that they have until they don't have one, which in Green Bay's case, maybe sooner than later.
Right, yeah, which is, again, the outside perspective, what the hell is going on? People just don't. I want to ask you, so I think there's a lot of, when it comes to the Packers and the draft, there's so many people that point a finger and say, they need this, they need this, they need this. I think they could use almost short of a quarterback, a kicker, and a punter. I think they could use somebody at almost every position, whether it's depth on the offensive line because Bakhtiari is going to be out for a while, or it's another lockdown corner. What direction do you think they go early on in this draft? And more so, Dan, let me ask you, maybe this is a follow-up to that. What is one of the deeper positions that you can afford to maybe wait on because the position is so deep?
Well, because Green Bay's picking down at 29, that's kind of basically the top of the second, so they're going to there's some pretty good offensive linemen in this draft. So there's depth there. So they're going to be able to get maybe 1 or 2 offensive linemen to help up front because, right now I think it's very unsettling. I don't know if there's a top 7 or 8 that you would hang your hat on right now. So I think that a couple of those, offensive linemen with those rangy tackles that are there. There's only going to be probably maybe 3 tackles go before Green Bay selection. I mean, I really like Mayfield from Michigan, but gosh, I was really disappointed in his overall workout. But when you see him on the field, he's a terrific player, a very tough physical guy. He would fit in great, I think, at Green Bay because of just the mentality, the way he plays. And but anyway, there's a lot of depth there, Bill, at that offensive line area, and some of the pass rushers in a 3-4 scheme.
So I want to talk a little bit about the defense, because defensively speaking, I think is where this draft is going to be heavy for this team. I know they have Preston and Zadarius Smith. Rashawn Gary has really come on. I still feel that they need another guy alongside Kenny Clark. How many defensive linemen do you think are going to fill the bill that they could take maybe in the 1st or 2nd round?
Well, that's a sticky wicket. There isn't a ton of depth there. And now if a guy like Barmore falls down there to Green Bay, which he could. I mean, the way, you take those 5 quarterbacks out of the mix, and so everybody else gets pushed down. The receivers that people are going crazy over, Pitts, the tight end from Florida, that's going to push down some good players to Green Bay, and Barmore may very well be one of them. Now, we think he's going to be the first defensive interior guy to go, but it's a possibility that he is going to be there for Green Bay. So I think that if Green Bay wants to go with a additional guy on the outside to rotate in there with Lowry and Lancaster and Kiki, I think that there's a guy like that, and Greg Rousseau may very well be there, who's can also rush the passer from that 3-4 scheme. So there's going to be a good football player there for Green Bay.
Yeah, you mentioned Greg Rousseau, and I saw that he was part of that your mock draft, that he could possibly end up in Green Bay. Tell me a little bit more about him.
He's he was opted out this year, but he's a good size guy, 270 pounds, 6'4" and change, long arm guy. He's a really good athlete that he can play parallel to that line of scrimmage. He can lock people out and play down the line, keep people off those linebackers. But also he's got that quickness. We got a quick arm over and a rip move that he can get in there and pressure the passer as needed, according to what the calls are. Because most of the time, the 3-4 guy, the 5 technique tackles in that 3-4 scheme, they're basically there to keep tackles and tight ends and things off the linebackers. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but he's a real rangy guy, and he's going to be really a good corner post for somebody.
The other guy that I found interesting, and I got a lot of people talking about it, is Terrence Marshall. He's the kid out of LSU going over to the wide receiver position. Now, we all have talked about another wide receiver that could be opposite Davante Adams. How high do you see Terrence Marshall going, and do you think he's got a shot at actually being there when the Packers choose?
Yeah, I think he'll be there at 29, okay? I mean, unless Baltimore, they brought in Sammy Watkins and this and that, and there's some scuttlebutt that, although Baltimore, they're always looking for pass rushers. So I think that there's going to be a lot of pass rushers in their mix. But if he gets by Baltimore at 27, I think he'll be there for the Packers if they want to go that route at 29.
He's a legitimate 4.4 40. He's 6'3". This is about the prototypical wide receiver that you want. He's a junior entry and a 2-year starter. He's got the chops, in my opinion, to really add something to this offense, doesn't he?
He does, and he's kind of, and I don't want to put him in this category yet, but he's got a little bit of Sterling Sharp to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, that size and everything, the physical part of it, and he's got good juice. I mean, he can get down the field vertically, so run those dig routes and what have you. So, he's a guy that would fit in great for what the Packers would be looking for.
Is Kadarius Toney, the kid out of Florida, another wide receiver? But he was so fast in his pro day, of 4.3, even though he's only 5'11". Is he a guy that is going to be a first rounder, or is he going to be a second rounder?
I think, again, since there's 32 teams out there, their boards are all different in how they grade these guys. Bill, I'll tell you, I think there's so many. There's probably 5 or 6 guys in his side, like Rondale Moore, for instance, or Eskridge from Western Michigan. There's guys like that at his size, so people may not go crazy for him in the first round. He may end up going to the second. He brings a lot to the table. He's an electric player, gets his hands on the ball. He can do it. But my problem with him during the Senior Bowl, for instance, and he dropped a lot at Florida, but his hands are very inconsistent. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, if you're going to take a guy in the first round, he better have stickum on those hands.
I want to go over to the linebacker position. The Packers years ago, when Elliott Wolf was here, said that the media values an inside linebacker more than maybe the team does. Now, I've always said if you don't value it, it's because you don't have one that is, say, a Levante David type of quality. Is there anybody out there that would, because last year I really thought Patrick Peterson was going to be the guy when they made the trade, and instead they took Jordan Love, because I thought Patrick Peterson would have looked spectacular roaming the middle for the Green Bay Packers. So my question is there anybody of that ilk that could come into this team that would be a Levante David type? I mean, is it Micah Parsons? I don't expect to be there, but Zaven Collins or Baron Browning out of Ohio State, a sideline-to-sideline guy, is there somebody like that do you think will be there for the Packers?
I'll tell you, we got Baron Browning in the second round, but, I've heard scuttlebutt with some teams that really like him. They didn't tell me that they were going to take him in the first round, but they really like him at the top of the second. And so, I mean, hey, like I said, that's Green Bay's basically picking at the top of the second round. Yeah. So if they feel good about Baron Browning, he's also, like you said, Bill, he's a sideline-to-sideline guy, aggressive. He's got good size, 6'3", about 240, can run. He ran a 4.56 at the pro day, and he's got good instincts, good in coverage, so he could be a fit there.
Going back over to the not the wide receiver, but the offensive side of the football, the tight end position. Eventually, the Packers, probably later in this draft, may go after another tight end. Jay Sternberger has not turned out to be the guy that they thought he was going to be. Is there another guy, third round, fourth round, Dan, that the Packers could pick up that you would say this guy might fill the bill a little bit better than what they've gotten Jay Sternberger?
Yeah, I'll tell you, a guy that I like at Michigan, and so he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear in those tires, but Nick Eubanks, big guy, 6'4", and change, about 260, runs in the high 4.6 range. And whenever he got his chance, he snatched that ball up, and he could run with it after a catch, but they basically used him as a blocker, and they rotated 3 or 4 tight ends in there, so he never really got that chance. But guys that got really good hands that could be gotten later, Noah Gray out of Duke, catches the ball really well. McKitty from Georgia, 6'4", about 250. Again, he runs in the high 4.7, 4.8 range. He wasn't used a ton at Georgia, but he really looked good when they gave him the opportunity there at the Senior Bowl. A guy that'd be a little later, maybe say 6th round, 5th, 6th round, Luke Farrell, another one that, was in that rotation at Ohio State. So he's about 6'5" and change and about 260, ran pretty good in the high 4.7s. And, so, yes, there's going to be Tony Pajola from Virginia, another guy, 6'6", about 265, makes spectacular those circus catches and things. So there's going to be a tight end available, depending on which way the Packers want to go, with a guy with a little more speed or somebody that can, block.
Talking with Dan Shonka from Arlad Scouting Services. Now I want to go back to the corner position for the Packers before I move on to a couple other things regarding quarterbacks. But there's obviously, you look at a guy like Asante Samuel is going to be going high. Greg Newsom's going to go high. J.C. Horn's going to go high. Patrick Surtain certainly high. But I'm looking at a couple of guys that could fall, or maybe the Packers could pick up in the second round. Marco Wilson, he ran a 4.3 in his pro day. Aaron Robinson, another guy that ran a 4.3. Both of these guys right around 6 foot. They can get downfield about 190 pounds, 191 pounds, and good leaping ability. Are those guys ready to really be that kind of a cover corner in the NFL?
I tell you, Aaron Robinson might be a little closer now. Marco Wilson had just a tremendous pro day. I think he verticaled 43 and something, Bill, and excuse me. But he is a guy that's an ascending player, okay? And but he probably could be gotten a little bit later in that second round. And but Eric Stokes is another one that I know a lot of my colleagues out there kind of like Campbell, but the guy that does our secondary for us is a former NFL secondary coach, and I do the cross checks and things, and we got great Eric Stokes graded ahead of Campbell, and here's another guy, over 6 foot, and he's a 4.3 guy, and he's got a lot better instincts, I think, than Campbell. But Campbell's going to go high too because he's big and he's fast. So there's going to be some corners there that got the ability, and it's just a matter of how they're coached and how they develop.
Talking with Dan Shonka from Arlad Scouting Services. Basically, before I let you go, Dan, I mean, everybody, that you talk about could possibly be looking for a quarterback of some type. Now, obviously, there's some teams near the top of the draft that are going to be jockeying for that position. San Francisco certainly has a lot of rumors flying around about them. How do you see the top of this draft playing out?
Well, it could be 1 through 4 quarterbacks. I don't put it out of the realm of possibility that Atlanta at 4 does not take a quarterback, because it's the ideal situation. You got Matt Ryan there for at least another year, maybe 2, and then you got a quarterback that can come in, a young guy, and develop, behind him. I think that I mean, we really like Mac Jones, and because of the basic things you look at in quarterback play, your accuracy, the ball placement, his ability to command an offense. I know nowadays everybody likes that guy that can really run and all that stuff, but Mac Jones can get that first down when you need it for 3, 4, 5 yards? Is he going to go like Justin Fields, run 70 yards down the field on RPO for a touchdown? No, he won't. But then again, Justin Fields is going to put that ball in a very tight window like Jones can do and get you that first down throwing the ball. So it's just a matter of, and I really like Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is going to be an excellent quarterback, but I think he could very well be the 4th or 5th quarterback come off the board because just simply experience. He's big, he's strong, he's smart, he's a dedicated football guy, all those positive things. I think the guy that maybe he may do something early, and I know everybody's going to say, "Oh God, we really loved him," is Zach Wilson, because I just think there's that his shoulders being the way they are. When you've already had 2 shoulder surgeries, one on each shoulder and a broken thumb, something tells me he may not be well put together. And in the NFL, if you're not injured going in, you're going to be injured sometime in your career. And he's already showed that he's had 3, pretty significant injuries.
I know that, and this is the last question, Dad, but I know there's a lot of consternation about Justin Fields, only for the fact that Ohio State quarterbacks traditionally have not played extremely well, or well at all, for that matter, in the NFL. Is this the guy that breaks the mold for what is quarterback?
Very well. I've seen all his the 2 years that he was at, or graded all his films, and I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the good is very, very good. And he struggled in a couple games, but there's some other offsetting reasons probably for that, with missing a receiver, just not being there, like Olive wasn't there for one game, and this and that. But and maybe coach preparation for the game against Indiana, they weren't ready for the defense that they saw. But I mean, he is. I mean, if I put together a highlight film for him, you'd probably take him the first pick in the draft. I mean, you could put together that good a highlight film on him. But when you look at the total picture, I really think that he could very well go to Atlanta at number 4, then he'd be close to home in Georgia.
Dan, always a pleasure. Great stuff, and we'll talk to you and kind of recap the draft after it's all said and done. But thanks so much, pal. Thanks for the draft guide. They can go to ourlads.com and pick it up, but it's a tremendous draft guide. And Dan, anything else you want to tell people listening to the program about the draft guide or about following you guys on Our Lads?
Well, the fans out there, that what we've offered this year, Bill, is a PDF copy of the guide where they can get it. In fact, they can get it in the next couple hours if they want to. They just give us a call at 1-800-PRO-DRAFT, or they can go online in the subscription box there in the right-hand side of the homepage of ourlads.com and order it, and we'll get that out to them very quickly. So they get the hard copy, or they can get and it goes out today, or they can get the PDF copy.
It is a tremendous, tremendous asset for those that really like the draft, and I'm showing it over on the Bud Light live stream. If you haven't seen it already, there it is. There's a copy of it right there. Dan, a pleasure as always, buddy, and we'll talk soon, okay?
You betcha, Bill. Anytime. Thanks a million.
Thanks, pal. Talk to you soon. There you go. Dan Shonka from Our Lads Scouting Service. Again, Our Lads _Shonka, SHONKA on Twitter. Our Lads at Our Lads, OURLADS _Shonka. And if you go to ourlads.com, it is an awesome publication, and you can get it, like he said, in PDF or the hard. I love the hard copy, and there it is again for the Bud Light live stream. That's how thick it is. It's a big, thick book, about an inch thick, maybe a little bit under that, and it's just loaded with information about every player coming out this year for the NFL draft. Good stuff, and thanks to Dan for joining us. Your reaction to all of that, what you just heard, all the information you just gathered, I want to get your thoughts as the Packers look for the NFL draft to bolster this team just a little bit more and maybe gets them over the top and actually puts them in a Super Bowl. Coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
On this day in 1989, the NFL owners approved the sale of the Dallas Cowboys to Jerry Jones for, at the time, $146 million. And at the time, many thought Jerry's nuts. He is overpaid for the franchise. He's absolutely crazy. Just another rich Oklahoman into the Texas area that just wants the Cowboys as a toy. Well, that toy went from $146 million value at the time in 1989. It is now worth over $6 billion. Think about that. Think about that. That's serious money. Holy mackerel. Wouldn't you like that kind of an investment? If we all had $146 million to throw around. But yeah, boy. On this day in 1989, NFL owners unanimously approved the sale of the Cowboys to Jerry Jones, $146 million, which is turned now into $6+ billion. That is serious cash. Serious cash. Okay. I told you there was an announcement. It was made a little bit earlier today. I didn't get a chance to get it out right away, but I wanted to send it to you and let you know. It's over on the Facebook fan page for those that wanted to see it first. But today they made the announcement, and I am so thrilled that they did. The free summer concert series for all the concerts that have been canceled. Everything that's been turned down and has been pushed to fourth quarter of the year. The Wisconsin State Fair Park, which is state property in the middle of Milwaukee. It's in Milwaukee County, but it's outside of the city of Milwaukee. They are moving forward with plans to open up in June. The second week of June, they're opening it back up. After a year off, they say they, quote, thrilled to be back in action. Last year devastated so many entertainment and service workers. We're once again going to bring the best in cover bands to Southeast Wisconsin with an extended schedule that adds more shows. It's going to be great to have people back at the pavilion. They're featuring the full-service grill, multiple bars, kiosks, indoor and outdoor seating, and 20 HD TVs. The band lineup was announced today, and it is awesome. Cherry Pie is going to rock the stage June 9th when they open it up. For Wednesday Night Live, it's back. The Toys, Rebel Grace, Almighty Vinyl, Generation Z, The Cheap Shots, The Love Monkeys, The Now, Bella Kane, 33 RPM, Cherry Pie again, and then my new favorite country, my favorite band, September 22nd, Madison County. They are now back and live performances. The restrictions have not been mentioned yet, but it's all outdoors. The Bud Pavilion can hold 2,000 people alone under the big roof, even though all the doors are wide open. The big giant garage doors are open at the State Fair Park. But it is called Wednesday Night Live. If you've never been, I encourage you to go. It is back, and it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm so glad that we now have a sense of normalcy, if you will, coming back. That is huge. That is huge. Because I knew for a while that it was in the works, that it was, people were trying to make it happen. And I was just absolutely thrilled to hear for sure that it's 100%. I've been alluding to this. I've been telling you that there have been people around the state saying, look, we got to start opening some things up. We got to get some businesses back. And sure enough, they make the announcement today. They sent it to me and said, hey, thanks for being a supporter. Obviously, Goose Island Ale House is inside the Budweiser Pavilion. The Goose Island Ale House will, as far as we know, Wisconsin State Fair is back this year. This is one of this, along with other venues, are going to be the test dummies for many things in our area, for many festivals in our area, not just Milwaukee, but all over the state of Wisconsin. So if you're listening in Madison, if you're listening in La Crosse, everywhere, this is going to be the test dummy for these places. So if they do it right. If the numbers continue to decrease, everything levels off, we can, like I said, I just came back from Florida where it's wide open. You know, other than some of the elderly and people with underlying conditions, you'd never know COVID existed. It's wide open. Restaurants, bars, beaches, everything wide open. No mask to be seen. None at all. So it's good to know that we are moving forward and things continue to get better health-wise in this area and in this country. But I am so glad to see that. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. That is terrific news. Terrific news. Good stuff. I wanted to bring you that because I promised that to you, and I think it is a huge announcement for so many different reasons. Just a huge announcement. So let's do this. We'll get back to sports, but I wanted to bring you that. That at the very least should make you smile just a little bit to say, okay, you can breathe a little bit easier. Maybe, again, another step in the wonderful direction of getting back to a sense of normalcy. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to Bill Michaels Show. We continue on this Monday. Good news. A lot of people excited. Jesse listening to us in Germantown. This is Christopher, who is listening to us in Sheboygan. Keith and his friends say listening to us in Green Bay on the app, or excuse me, on the link to the app, the live feed. And Mark out in Madison, Chris in Oconomowoc. This is Vinny in La Crosse. All just happy to hear that the Budweiser Pavilion is back. They've all been to it at one point or another. And King James, listening to us out in Madison, says, glad to hear that you're a Madison County fan. I'll be there. I just saw that it was announced on September 22nd. We will see you there. And I think it was September 22nd. September 22nd, Madison County is going to be there. But yeah, it's tremendous that we're getting back to that sense of normalcy, if you will, as the Budweiser Pavilion going to open back up this year. Live music back. Live music back. That is just awesome. I am so thrilled. So thrilled that we've got that back. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, do it in many different facets. You can find us over on the Bud Light live stream, which is simply, if you want to follow the links, over on Twitter, over on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Plenty of ways to do so. On Facebook, go to facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. You can find us on Twitter, @Bill_Michaels. There's a link there. YouTube and Twitch. YouTube is a terrific way to do it. As a matter of fact, I had quite a few people. Ran into people from Wausau. I ran into some people from Germantown. I ran into some people that were from Anago. We had a couple that we ran into from Manitowoc. A lot of Wisconsinites down on Marco Island, Florida, and many of which listen or watch the program live on YouTube. And it was funny because one of the gentlemen on Friday, we were sitting on the beach on Friday, and one of the gentlemen walking up and down the beach with his wife came over and said, are you Bill Michaels? And I said, yes, I am. He's like, I watch you. I was wondering where you went, because he was watching and there was not a YouTube link that was up and running. And he said, I was wondering where you're at. And now they know. And we sat and talked to them for a little while and had a terrific time. Shared a cigar, as a matter of fact. But it was great just kind of sitting down there on the beach. There was another big gentleman walking around, big guy, walking around in an Aaron Jones jersey, which was pretty cool. So good to see a lot of Packers fans out and about down in Florida as well. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout and let us know what you got going on, as we just ended up talking a little bit to Dan Shonk, a lot of it, I should say, Dan Shonk of Arlad Scouting Services, about many of the different draft choices that are out there for the Green Bay Packers. Is there anybody specifically that you're thinking of for the Green Bay Packers to pick up? And if you've got a question about anybody, let me know and we'll try to get to it and give us a shout. Jerry, the address for the text guide is simply OurLads, OurLads.com, OurLads.com. That is OurLads.com. And you can find it there. It is a terrific draft guideline. And I got a couple, and I want to get to these. And this one is from Cinderblock Dave, who says, do you know anything about Jamin Davis? He's out of Kentucky. I hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I do know a little, but not enough. So I went and found his listing. He's a junior entry, 1-year starter. He really kind of came onto the scene as a starter after being a solid role in special teams player for a while. Long and athletic, some still untapped upside, they say. He played both as an overhang player and in the box. He uses his length to control straight-up blocks with knee bends and a quick punch to separate and shed. He can come off of a block and make a play. Deliberate in his read. He shuffles downhill, fits inside and off tackle gaps as well. Extremely good. Explodes into the tackles. Solid tackler he is. He's 6'4", 234 pounds. He ran a 4.48 in the 40. He is I think it's the 6th best rated linebacker. 2, 3, 4. No, fifth best by our lads. He's always got good depth, adept at processing route combinations when it comes to passing off shallow routes and such. Stays in positions with intermediates. Tough to throw over in the throwing lanes because of his height. He's being 6'4" with long arms. And while normally in the right place on the run, he will hesitate at times, giving a little bit of room to the ball carrier. His shuffle steps do not always transition into exploding downhill plays. That's the downside. And some of his issues are based upon limited playing time that as he gets more and more familiar with, he'll become a better and better linebacker. At least that's according to our lad. So that's Jamin Davis, the kid out of Kentucky, coming into this year's NFL draft. So if you got a question about anybody, by all means, fire it off, and we'll see what we can do as far as getting you more information. Now, this one is from Rick, and Rick says, please tell me more about Rousseau, who he had mentioned during your interview. Rousseau is the kid out of Miami. He's a third-year sophomore entry, 1-year starter, and that 1 year was as good as it gets when you talk about looking at productivity, where he led the ACC with 19.5 tackles for loss and 15.5 sacks. He can move all over. 6'6", 260, 4'6", 840. But big, strong guy. He's not a 4.4 guy over the middle as far as in coverage goes. But as far as linebackers go, he's one of the faster linebackers. Now, Jalen Phillips, the kid out of Miami as well, he's a 4.5 guy, and so is Kwity Paye, the kid out of Michigan. But Rousseau, being more of a defensive end, a bigger cat, disruptive, versatile pass rush talent, checks several boxes, but there are questions revolving around his movement. He's got a kind of what they call an elite frame, a big, strong guy, and he's an inside-outside rusher, but appears out of control at times and can be wildly accurate as far as coordinated with his upper body, but he tends at times to be, kind of overrun the play. He's going to struggle with pad level. We talk about that all the time. Doesn't get off the ball consistently and needs to show a little bit more violence off the ball as well if you're going to be a pass rusher in the league. But as far as a defensive and a down lineman goes, big, strong guy, low center of gravity, but 6'6", 260 with big paws. That's not bad. But for 15.5 sacks and a guy that you just can't outrun, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. 877-867-1670. If you want to fire one off to me via email, it's thebillmichaels@gmail.com. thebillmichaels@gmail.com. Got a couple more for you, and going to answer one from Terrence listening to us in Viroqua when we come back. But if you got a question about the NFL draft, about a particular player, if I can get it to you, by all means, go ahead and hit me up, and I'll give you some more information about that particular cat. Give us a shout. Got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Resume 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Never been a big fan of ESPN putting the kids, the high school kids, on TV announcing where it is they're going. But you've got a 7'1" kid with a 7'4" wingspan out of Minnesota. Chet Holmgren is his name. And, I mean, tall, skinny guy. They got some work cut out for him, but he just announced on ESPN that he is going to Gonzaga. He is 7'1", can handle the basketball. And he is now heading off to Gonzaga. But they take the ESPN 100 and they put these kids on there. And I guess, you know what, as a kid, if you're a family, you know, it's great for, you know, high school athletics and such, you know, to show these kids. And it's kind of nice to get a little bit of notoriety. It's just almost like it's so much pressure to come in and just be the hero for some of these programs. And how many times have we seen these kids announce where they take the hats or they pick up a hat and then they fake it and they put another hat on and that's it. You never hear from them again. Now, this kid I think you're going to hear from. 7'1" with a 7'4" wingspan going to Gonzaga. Yeah, you're going to hear from this kid, but still it's I think sometimes it just puts a ton of pressure on these youngsters to all of a sudden be a hero walking into some of these places. This is from Jacob. Says, when you were down in Florida, did you get to snook in? It's funny. Now, I don't have the zipper on this. Doesn't go all the way down, but if you look, I'm wearing a Snook In t-shirt right now. I picked up down there. Yes, went to the Snook In. As a matter of fact, some of the pictures of the boats that I posted over on the Facebook fan page are from the Snook In. That's where he ran in. There was one guy down there. He's from Wausau, and him and his family and a couple of friends pulled up. They were on a great big Bennington. I can't believe how much pontoon boats have become as far as expense goes. He was on a Bennington Tri-Toon and pulled in. And it was $160,000 pontoon boat, but he was from Wausau. And I don't know what he specifically does, but they were great. They were great to talk to. Came in, and they actually have at the Snook Inn, a appetizer is the quote Wisconsin cheese curds. That's how many Wisconsinites go to the Snook Inn and hang out down there. So he came pulling in with some friends and family, and all these huge monstrous boats are pulling in, and he comes pulling in on a Bennington pontoon boat with dual 350s on the back. I mean, dual 350s on a tri-tune. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Dual 350s on a tri-tune. There's nothing in the water but the propeller. Unless you got a giant, huge ass, there's nothing in the water but the propeller. And he came pulling in there with these two engines on the back, and paid $160,000 for a pontoon boat. Whew. Talk about some fast fishing. Holy mackerel. But yeah, it was great. Snook Inn, absolutely awesome. Laura, how you doing? Jeff says, did you go to Little Bar? It's our favorite place, best steaks and seafood. Figured you'd run into some Wisconsinites there. I did not. We went to Deep Lagoon on Friday night. And my girlfriend, Kristen, is from the East Coast. And she's from the Rhode Island area. And she's only lived here in this state for, I don't know, 4 years, 3-4 years, something like that. And we're sitting at the table, and the people across from us were from Rhode Island. Our server was from Rhode Island, and the people behind us were from Boston. So that was like a reunion for her. And then later, we ran into a bunch of Wisconsinites who ran into us and kind of recognized me, for lack of a better term. And we were talking to them, and those people that we ran into were from all over the state, but the ones that we ran into that were locally to near where I live, they were from her neck of the woods and knew her from up in the Grafton area. So just interesting stuff. We had a great time. 877-867-1670 if you want to chime in. Feel free. Matt says, give us your thoughts on the best position available for the Green Bay Packers in the draft. Well, if you're strictly going by best player available, then it depends. I mean, you could have Trevor Morig, the kid out of TCU. You could have Jamin Davis, who I'd mentioned earlier, the linebacker out of Kentucky. Terrence Marshall Jr., who's the wide receiver out of LSU. Zaven Collins is another one, the defensive end. We even talk about him, outside linebacker / defensive end from Tulsa. Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver out of Minnesota. Owe, the outside linebacker from Penn State. Kadarius Toney is another one. Wide receiver from Florida could be there. Barmore. Now, many people seem to think that Christian Barmore is going to be there at the bottom of the draft, bottom of the first round, the defensive tackle out of Alabama. He would look great next to Kenny Clark. And he's kind of considered in the Vita Vea type of category. You know what I mean? So when you talk about some of the linemen that are out there and that are available, he would be a guy that if the Packers were able to get him, that would be a good pick. Depending on what's there. You know what I mean? Depending on what's there. If you've got that guy that's available at that point in time, then yeah, I would go in that direction. Because Barmore, I think, is really, really solid. So we'll see what happens, but I think Barmore would be the guy if he's there. And he is by the way, he is the top rated coming out of our lads. He's the top rated defensive lineman. Now, when you talk about tackles, defensive tackle in our lad scouting service, he's a 1-year starter, third year sophomore entry, heavily involved in the defensive rotation both seasons. He was a first team all SEC coming out of Alabama. Defensively speaking, they're good against the run. And it kind of appears to be in the next in line from the Alabama program that has been just pumping out quality defensive linemen into the NFL for years. He's got just as much natural talent and upside of those who have come before him, but he is slightly behind in the technique and consistency claims. You can check all the boxes when you're looking at him when it comes to the measurables. He's 6'5", 310 pounds, and runs under 5. And who really cares how fast he runs, because he's got the tools to be a dominant player every down and be an every down type of guy if you need him to. And he would be a terrific second, if you will, to Kenny Clark, but add depth on that defensive front. So, look, I think Barmore would be fantastic if they were able to pick him up. Fantastic. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. Stay tuned. Got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Brewers fell 6-5 to the Pirates in 10 innings yesterday, allowing Pittsburgh to take 2 of 3 in the series. Their first series win in Milwaukee since 2018. Brady Peralta gave up 3 runs over 5 innings of work. Brewers got a pair of home runs from Daniel Vogelbach, including the tying 2-run shot in the 7th inning. Though it came at a loss, manager Craig Counsell's liked what Vogelbach has given them so far.
I think he provides offense for us, and I think he's swung the bat pretty well so far. He hasn't put the ball in the air a ton, but he's made a lot of really hard outs. Really the second baseman's gobbled up a bunch of balls that he's hit really hard. So, I felt like that was coming for Vogie. 2 homers is a special day, obviously, but he's a hitter. I mean, I really believe if we give him at bats, he's going to hit. We got to find the spots for him.
Milwaukee dropped to 8-7 on the year. They'll now head out west to open a series against the Padres tonight in San Diego. Turning to the Bucks, they are back in action tonight as well as they welcome the Suns to Fiserv Forum. Phoenix owns the second best record in the Western Conference, while Milwaukee comes in with the third best record in the East. Tip is at 7.
From the kennel to the coop, Fleet Farm has everything you need to keep your animals happy and healthy. Whether you're training your pup to sit, mastering those retrieval skills, flipping your horse for competition, keeping the backyard birds well fed, or loving your pets like family. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, I don't need it, because we have it all. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, we're less than 2 weeks out from the start of the NFL draft in Cleveland. Things get underway next Thursday. Packers own 10 picks in the draft, including the 29th pick of the first round. Packers GM Brian Gutekunst has traded up or back in the first round in each of his first 3 drafts. The Wisconsin football team continuing spring practice in Madison. They're going to be back in the field tomorrow. And the Wisconsin volleyball team going to face Florida tonight with a trip to the Final Four on the line. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Welcome, one and all, and we are back, and glad to have you as we are talking some NFL draft. We've talked a lot about the Milwaukee Brewers today on the program as well, where the Brewers are at, obviously with injuries right now, and Keston here is struggling. There seems to be a little bit of a downturn. You've got other guys that are stepping up and kind of carrying things. Vogelbach has been a guy that has been, I'm not going to say a pleasant surprise, because you kind of saw what he had last year, but he's been able to accentuate that a little bit more so far this season. Meanwhile, you've got Keston Hiura still struggling. You've got Christian Yelich. Lorenzo Cain has had some downtime. Colton Wong has had some downtime. So they've had some issues as well. But it's just been, I guess if you're going to go through the trials and tribulations right now, you'd rather do it now than later. The breaking news of the day has been that Alex Smith, remember, he was the first-round draft choice who went prior to Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers ended up falling in that draft back in 2005, I think it was, something to that effect. Was it 2005? No, it was 2003, I believe. Anyway, long story short, Alex Smith has decided to retire. and call it a career. So Alex Smith going away, but no, Aaron Rodgers was 2005. What am I thinking? 2005. Of course he was. 2005. And so Alex Smith has called it a career. Specifically, I mean, he had to call it a career early on because of that devastating compound fracture that he sustained a while back. And it took him a while to come back from, but he is walking away from the game of football. And well, you know, you wish him nothing but the best after working so hard just to be able to come back to even, you know, be able to walk again, much less play football, and actually looked pretty good for Washington doing it last year. So kudos to him, and you just wish him nothing but the best. I mean, even though he never lived up to the billing that he had, but he's walking away. Entered the NFL in 2005, one of 3 quarterbacks to win 30-plus games for multiple teams, along with Peyton Manning and Carson Palmer, who were all 3 former number 1 overall picks as well. And he's the only quarterback since 1970 in the merger to win 40-plus games in the NFC and 40-plus games in the AFC. So there you go. That's from the Elias Sports Bureau, by the way, which just posted that a little while ago. The other big news locally is huge, and that is the fact that getting back to a sense of normalcy. The big news of the day was the Budweiser Pavilion at the Wisconsin State Fair Park has announced they are open outdoor will this year every Wednesday night starting in June. They've announced the lineup. It is the precursor and really kind of the test for many different venues throughout the state to see if they can pull this off, do it safely, and all that kind of stuff, and really get kind of a clean bill of health, pardon the pun, to be able to be a precursor to the Wisconsin State Fair, to Summerfest, to all the different festivals that go on outdoors with live music. And it is just so good to see the announcement. I knew it was coming. I had heard it for a while, and I heard the rumblings about some people higher up were kind of looking over the fence going, yeah, you guys got to open. We need to start opening the state back up. And damned if they didn't. So terrific news today to hear that the Wisconsin State Fair Park and the Budweiser Pavilion are going to be back with Wednesday Night Live starting June 9th this year, all the way throughout the rest of the summer and late into September. So that is just spectacular news. So good stuff there as well. Talking about the Green Bay Packers, and we had Dan Shonka from our Lad Scouting Services on just a little bit over an hour ago, and we were talking with him. So we were asking the question, what do you feel right now is the biggest position of need for the Green Bay Packers? Because there's so many people that say, you got to get this player, got to get that player. Is that the need? I mean, we all know you got to take best available, and there's so many different players that are available. But, you know, when it comes to that first round, because we're not quite sure how that first round is going to go. If it's going to hold true to many people's draft boards, or if there's going to be a dramatic change. Because you kind of figure Trevor Lawrence, he's done. Zach Wilson, the quarterback out of BYU, he's there. Mac Jones, he's there. Justin Fields, he's there. Trey Lance, he's there. Those quarterbacks are going to go early. Okay? So what after that? What after that is going to happen? You know? Who is going to be the next player available? Mark says, what do you think if Justin Fields goes to Ohio State or goes to Ohio State to the New England goes to Ohio State to the New England Patriots? If Bill Belichick picks him up, what do you think he'll end up being? I think that's a great question. I think is if he is just a system guy, then it's a good system to be in. But Bill Belichick has got to be better at drafting the position players of wide receiver and tight end. They've picked up some good ones, though. I mean, don't forget. I mean, for everything that happened to him, Aaron Hernandez was a good talent, and obviously Gronkowski was a good talent. They've had some good wide receivers, kind of diamonds in the rough, that have emerged. But he's got to pick up better wide receivers, and they got to be able to protect the quarterback. I mean, that's the big thing too. They got to have an offensive line that can protect the quarterback. But Justin Fields would certainly offer a talent in that offense that not many people are going to give you when it comes to, if there's not anybody open, he can make plays with his feet. Where a lot of other offenses don't, I'm not going to say don't really allow that, but Bill Belichick has never proven to be an absolute wizard when it comes to drafts, if you know what I mean. He's been able to make something, if you will. He's been able to make something out of nothing, but he's not been the best when it comes to drafting. When you look at the New England Patriots and their draft history, he has not been stellar. I mean, that's kind of the knock on him. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to chime in, go ahead and give us a shout. The draft, look at it this way. You had N'Keal Harry, and again, this is the New England Patriots and their draft history. Isaiah Wynn, the tackle, had been solid. Sonny Michel's been pretty good. You go back over the years. Jojuan Williams, Chase Vinovich, Damian Harris. You're not talking about household names. Kyle Duggar, Josh, the kid Uchi, the linebacker out of Michigan. Trying to think of some of the other draft choices they've had. Derek Rivers was solid back in 2017. He came out of Youngstown State, though. And that's the year that they only had, like 4, I think, draft choices was 2017 that Bill Belichick had traded everything away. Sonny Michel obviously came up big for them. But, there's a lot of guys that Joe Tunney, he's been solid for them. Jacoby Brissett hasn't really amounted to much. Let's be honest. Vincent Valentine, the defensive tackle. Malcolm Brown certainly turned out to be pretty solid for them back in 2015. Jordan Richards did too. The safety. Trey Flowers, the defensive end. That might have been one of Bill Belichick's, back in 2015, one of his better drafts. 2016 was the corner, Cyrus Jones. If I remember, Landon Roberts was another one of the cats that they picked up. But I'm just trying to think, if you start going through Bill Belichick's history of drafts, he hasn't been great. He's been better at just kind of developing some of the players and then finding good veteran free agents that are kind of on the downside that need a change of scenery, bringing them into the situation and making them better. And then catching lightning in a bottle. But without Tom Brady, he didn't do much last year. That's for damn sure. And wasn't able to do much with Cam Newton, who looked just terrible. Cam Newton looked awful. 877-867-1670. Cheddar Balls, you're absolutely right. He says Belichick excels when it comes to squeezing a few more years out of talented veteran players. 100%. 100%. Kinger says we need a backup for Jordan Love because we all know Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone. Not this year. He'll be there this year. But you're not going to draft a backup to Jordan Love. You're not going to have 2 draft choices as your quarterback. I mean, if indeed Aaron Rodgers is gone after this year or next year, then you would pick up a veteran to help with the development of Jordan Love. That's just kind of the way it would go. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you got a question about a particular position or the area of need for the Green Bay Packers, what might that be? Says James White was good for New England for what? You're correct. James White was solid for New England. He just hasn't, again, Bill Belichick has not been great when it comes to the NFL draft. For all that he is system-wise, for what he creates and the way he coaches, I give him a ton of credit. But he has not been great when it comes to the NFL draft. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. And James White, I believe he's still with the Patriots, right? He's still on their depth chart. I don't think he signed anywhere else. I think he went back. I think he returned to the Patriots. I think he went back. Yeah, I think he went back to the Patriots. So I think they re-signed him. And they brought back that fullback, Jacob Johnson, too, if I'm not mistaken. So, yes, he's still there. 877-867-1670. Mark says, have you got any information on the big kid out of Alabama? Is it Barrymore? No, it's Barmore. But we were talking about him in the last hour. Big kid, look, if he's there, fantastic. He's considered the best defensive tackle, best defensive lineman in the draft by many, and including the Arlad Scouting Service. I went over all of his statistics a little while ago, and he is as solid gets. You are correct. This is from Jay, and Jay says, "Can you tell us anything about Tommy Togiai, the kid out of Ohio State? I saw him play a couple of times. Being a Big Ten guy, what do you think?" He's good. He's not great. He's a fire plug. He's like 6 foot. I think they list him at 6'2", but I don't think he's 6'2". I think he's like 6 foot, and he's a 300-pound fire plug. Really, really good low center of gravity. And he is always an energized guy. I've watched him play more than a few times. He's just, and to give you the downside, he's, quote, hungry and aggressive, and tough mental traits that show up weekly, will maneuver through traffic, passionate, high motor playing style, going to make up for some of the physical shortcomings, lacks a true dependable base to anchor his position, pad levels way too inconsistent, does not have the legs of a wrestler. When they talk about that, the legs of a wrestler are legs that continue to churn, wide stance, good low center of gravity. And when you're a defensive lineman, if you get stymied with a lineman or two on the offensive side, you have to have lower leverage, lower pad level than they do to continue to push forward. Whoever's more upright is the person that's going to, their center of gravity begins to lean back. And once you begin to lean back, you're beaten. Okay, so you always stay low and leaning forward. Keep that center of gravity. Keep your belt buckle for your center of gravity. And as long as you're leaning forward, you can continue to press forward. He tends to get upright more often than not. And he's lower to the ground, but he tends to get upright. And that doesn't always bode well for a guy like him, because you got to be able to either one, stymie your man at the line of scrimmage, or two, take on a double team and plug a hole and get some push so you can cut off cutback lanes, which makes it easier for your linebackers and your defensive ends to make the play. So that's where he lacks a little bit. But he also has, by many accounts, an upside in which he's still learning, and he's got a lot of ability to put on weight and put on physical attributes. He can get bigger and stronger, basically. So, albeit you're not going to pick him up in the first or second round, but yeah, if he's still there, that might not be a bad way to go. I could see the Packers doing that, just to add a little help to Kenny Clark. Wouldn't be a terrible thought process. 877-867-1670. Hey, speaking of your thought process, we know summer's upon us. It's right around the corner. The announcement today about the Budweiser Pavilion coming back this year and outdoor music concerts, I am loving it. And we all know that you're eventually going to want to open your windows. You're going to want to let in the fresh air. The sunshine's going to come through. Get a hold of our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. You just want all of that stimulation in your life. I'm talking fresh air, sunshine, and you can discover it all by upgrading right now with Pella Windows of Wisconsin. Let the sun shine in as much as you want with blinds and shades between the glass. That's the exclusive integrated roll screen. I've got these things in my house. I love these things. I'm looking out of them right now, as a matter of fact. When you look out, when the camera's not outside, when you're looking out at the Tiki Cam, that's through the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And they're fantastic in the sense that if you just want to look out the window, you can put the roll screen up and you don't have that screen blocking your view. But if you wanted to use just the screen and you let the fresh air in, you can roll the screen down and open the window wide. And it's perfect. It's the innovation of the year last year in the world of windows and doors. And right now, through Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, 6 years, no interest financing. You can Pella now and pay later. That's right. 6 years, no interest financing. That's a stimulating breath of fresh air. Virtual appointments still available if you need them, but you can set up your free consultation today. Go to PellaWI.com/radio. PellaWI.com/radio. PELLA. PellaWI.com/radio, or just give them a call. Get a hold of our girl Gina over there, 855 Pella WI. 855 Pella WI. Again, that's 855 Pella WI. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
We continue on and talk a little bit about the NFL draft and the positions of need, and even some of the questions that you have regarding some of the players that are in it. Some news out of the Deshaun Watson case. He blasts the accusers in new court documents, claim that some gave him massages after the incidents occurred. Claims at least 5 of his accusers massaged him yet again after the alleged sexual misconduct incidents. And the NFL star believes it's proof that the women are lying. He just filed new court documents responding to the 22 female allegations who have filed lawsuits against him. And now that he knows the identities of his accusers, he's going after them one by one. In the few days since he learned the identity of his accusers, his legal team has already uncovered evidence that numerous allegations in this onslaught of cases are simply not true. This is according to Watson's attorney, Rusty Hardin. Hardin lays out 6 points which he believes is going to help prove his client's innocence. After the massage therapy sessions with Mr. Watson, 8 plaintiffs bragged about and praised and were excited about actually massaging Deshaun Watson. 7 plaintiffs willingly worked or offered to work with him after the incident occurred. 3 plaintiffs have lied about the number of sessions they actually had with Watson. 3 plaintiffs lied about their alleged trauma and resulting harm, he claims. 5 plaintiffs told others they wanted to get money out of Watson, and 5 plaintiffs have scrubbed or entirely deleted their social media accounts. So Hardin claims that he has proof that 5 accusers chose to work with Watson even after they claim he acted offensively towards them. So you kind of wait for the other shoe to fall, which is what they wanted. They wanted to know the names so he could say, well, wait a minute, this was happening as well. So again, this is far from over. And I'll tell you this, the way Rusty Hardin's good at what he does. Remember, he represented Roger Clemens a while ago in the whole, steroid thing, and ended up winning that case. So, I mean, he's a guy that kind of knows how to expose stuff, if you will. And even though, we all still believe that Roger Clemens did some bad things when it came to HCG or HCH and all the HCH and all that kind of stuff. Rusty Hardin still was able to kind of expunge some of his clients' wrongdoings. So we'll see what he does here with Deshaun Watson. Got an email from Clarence who says, tell me more about the Marshall kid out of LSU. So I went and found him in the Our-Lads book, junior entry, 2-year starter, opted out of the duration of the 2020 season after 7 games. He's the nephew, we all know, of the former player Joe Delaney, a 5-star recruit. He had a hard time living up to the hype because of the abundance of talent that the program had at the receiver position, but he started off fighting an uphill battle because of a severe leg injury suffered his senior season in high school that broke his fibula and dislocated his ankle. However, he started to break out with a 13-touchdown year for the LSU championship squad, and in 2020 he responded with a solid 7-game season before opting out. And he opted out mainly because he wanted to start concentrating on the draft, didn't want to get COVID, and didn't want to have problems. Because of it, he checks all the boxes when it comes to size. 6'3", 200 pounds, and runs a flat 4.4. Almost a 4.3, if you will. He's that good. He's a favorable matchup in the red zone. He can get open in small windows, but also excels in traffic. He's got a competitive streak in him at all times. And he's competitive. He hustles, goes hot and cold. That's one of his problems. He struggles to find some of the windows against zone coverage at times, and may need some more time to develop as processing information and turning it into physical action seems to be a little bit laboring at times for him. Shows too much hesitation off of the line, has yet to play his physical potential. So when you look at him, he's a guy that has all the talent in the world. He reminds me a little bit when you're talking about 6'3" and 200 pounds and can run a 4.4 or even lower at times. He reminds me of Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Ton of talent, long arms, a lot of speed, gets off the line a little bit slow, sometimes does not run the right route in zone coverage, can't figure out where to sit down. So, and reminds me a lot of Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So, I like him, and he may take a little bit of time to develop, but what the upside is and the developmental side and what people believe to be his ceiling is so high that he rates as the I believe it's the fourth best wide receiver, or fifth best wide receiver in our lad scouting services. Just an FYI. So he's that good, but he's still got a way to go. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Cheddar Ball says, with Alex Smith retirement, Rodgers is the lone remaining first-round draft choice from the 2005 draft that is still playing. I didn't realize that. Jeff says, what about Marshall as a punt returner and kick returner? Good speed. I mean, look, if that's all you're asking him to do, you're not going to draft a first-round guy to be your kick and punt returner only. I mean, if he's going to be a first-round guy, he has got to produce as a starter, and if not spectacularly, then at least be an incredible support player to what, if you're going wide receiver, so to speak, he has to be an incredible support player to what you're going to put out there in the field with Devontae Adams, if that makes sense. Jeff says, any preliminary locations for the huddle or events in the state? Two buddies and myself are going to travel. Jeff, funny you mention that, because we got a lot of stuff coming up. We're going to be at the races, NASCAR and IndyCar. We got cigar dinners coming up, which I announced last week, but the cigar dinners are going to be out there as well. But a lot of good stuff coming up. You bet. A lot of good stuff coming up. I'll talk a little bit about that when we come back, but hang in there. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show, which is coming up, and I will tell you about some of the places we are going to be. And oh, by the way, for those of you listening in Milwaukee, not only did we talk about the Budweiser Pavilion opening up in June for local events, we got an event coming to the Milwaukee area, but it doesn't mean that you can't come from La Crosse or Wausau or Madison to be a part of this. So I want to tell you a little bit about it when we come back. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gina Della from Pella, don't you just love fresh air and sunshine? It's so stimulating.
Absolutely. You know, Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin is in the fresh air and sunshine business.
Since when?
Since forever.
Seriously?
Think about it. By upgrading with Pella replacement windows, you can let the sun shine in as much as you want with blinds and shades between the glass.
And Pella's available roll screen lets you get a breath of fresh air when you need one. Then it rolls away out of sight when you don't.
Very stimulating.
Hey, wouldn't it be smart to use the latest stimulus check or your tax refund to invest in energy-efficient Pella windows and doors?
That's a great idea, especially now. Order by April 30th and get 6-year no-interest financing.
Pella now, pay later. Now that's a stimulating breath of fresh air.
Set your free consultation today at PellaWI.com/radio or 855-PELLA-WI.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good day to you. Really good day to you. 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up? Feel free to go ahead and do so. My name is Bill Michaels. It's the Bill Michaels Show. You can find us over on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. You can find us on YouTube, on Twitch as well, which you can subscribe. Completely free over there, either one. As those two sites continue to grow, we certainly appreciate your participation there. Also, you can find us on Facebook, simply facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. Facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. And you can track us down there as well. 877-867-1670 is the phone number, and you can drop us an email, simply thebillmichaels@gmail.com, thebillmichaels@gmail.com, and also simply the website, which is thebillmichaels.com. That's thebillmichaels.com. This is from Mark, who says, hey, Bill, I see the Aaron Rodgers saga continues on. Any thoughts as to what they had to say today on ESPN? Mark, I honestly, when I see, and I don't know where it was, all I know is when I was coming into the office this morning and I heard in the background, and the Aaron Rodgers saga, on and on and on from Mike Greenberg, the overhype machine, I turned it off. So let me know what was said. If there's something new there, I'm happy to talk about it. But I don't think there's anything new, to be perfectly honest with you. I just don't. I don't think anybody's bringing up anything in which they're going, well, here you go. You know, I don't see that happening. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't see anything new coming up. And if I'm wrong, let me know. But I just didn't see anything else happening that was of big interest. By the way, the Brewers back at it tonight. It's a late one. Going to the West Coast, they're taking on the San Diego Padres out of Petco. Woodruff on the hill. And again, Woodruff still with a 2.12 ERA. Going against Joe Musgrove. Now, Woodruff is 0-0, yet to get a decision and yet to get a win, as this anemic offense doesn't do a whole lot behind him. Comes into this game with a 2.12 ERA against the righty, Joe Musgrove, who is 2-1 with a 0.47 ERA. And if you watch San Diego and LA over the weekend, you had some terrific matchups. You had Kershaw on the hill this past weekend. When you talk about some of the pitchers that you could face, it was such a good weekend between the Padres and the Dodgers, and Darvish and Blake Snell, and you had such good pitching matchups, and between Trent Grisham and Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado and Eric Hosmer, you got really solid players to watch, and why that wasn't one of the nationally televised games, I don't know. But that being said, you got the Brewers back in action tonight, taking on a good San Diego team. So, and as we had mentioned a little bit earlier, when you look at the standings, I mean, right now you've got the Padres sitting behind the Dodgers. And I mean, when you talk about Major League Baseball and the West, I mean, you look out West, that almost every team out West could be a team that could win a division in another division. Except for, of course, Colorado. I mean, Colorado, even maybe Arizona to a certain extent, but I think Colorado, they're in full-blown rebuild mode. But you got the Dodgers with 13 wins. San Francisco, they played 15 total games, so they're a couple of games back behind the Dodgers, along with San Diego. San Diego's got 10 wins on the season as well, and they're a solid team. But the Dodgers are just. That's the standard right now in the National League. You got the Brewers coming into this contest at 8-7 and a game behind Cincinnati. But remember, the Brewers have been dealing with quite a few injuries and some players underperforming. Obviously, Keston Hiura has not had a solid offensive season when you're really relying upon him to have a bounce back year this year. Then you got Christian Yelich now going to the injured list. You got Colton Wong, who's been there. You've got Lorenzo Cain, who's been there. So if the Brewers, maybe sometimes, when the starters go down and the younger guys, the other guys, the bench players are forced to perform, sometimes they do rise to the occasion. And Vogelbach has been somewhat doing that. So maybe Vogelbach begins to hit the baseball. Keston Hiura maybe has a little bit of a bounce back, and everybody else, Jackie Bradley Jr. has been lighting it up. So maybe things continue to progress forward in that particular sense. We'll wait and see. But yeah, it's the Brewers and the Padres coming up a little bit later on tonight. As a matter of fact, that game scheduled to get underway at 9:10 Central Time. So talking about 12:30, a little after midnight by the time this game's probably going to be over tonight. But hopefully the Brewers are coming out on the winning end of this thing. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. This one's from Kathy. Kathy says, I got a lot of faith in my Milwaukee Brewers. Keston Hiura is going to be all right. He was a young star in the minors. He just needs to get his swing back. Do you think they do that when he goes back to the minors, or does he figure it out up here in the majors? What about the hitting coach? A lot of talk with my husband and his friends as to whether or not the hitting coach needs to be fired. Well, first of all, let me say this. You're not going to fire a hitting coach now. So You're not going to find that now. It just, you can move somebody up maybe, but you're not going to fire the hitting coach and suddenly things are going to just automatically turn around. Again, hitting coaches are more about what pitchers like to throw, tendencies they have, and if they can find a hitch in your swing. That's about it. I mean, I don't want to simplify it in that easy of term because there's a lot more to the job than that. But that's kind of if I had to give you an elevator speech, it would be trying to find a positive in your swing, maybe a negative if you're struggling, and then obviously some of the bad habits maybe you've fallen into or the way pitchers are pitching you that can help you get better and get out of it if you're in a slump. But for the most part, if you're a hitting coach and guys are hitting the baseball, then you just stay out of the way. You just kind of keep doing what you're doing. You let them know what they're doing right, and you let them know what pitchers, how pitchers are pitching them. But beyond that, you just kind of stay out of their way. By the way, Jackie Bradley Jr. celebrating his 31st birthday today. Jackie Bradley Jr., happy birthday. And he's bounced back. He enters today on an 8-game hit streak, the longest streak by any Brewers so far this season. He's batting .333 during the streak. He was 1 for 19 on the season prior to the hit streak starting. He's 11 for 33 with an RBI. But prior to the hit streak, he was 1 for 19. And that one hit being a home run. So, and Avisel Garcia has hit safely in 8 of his last 9 games. So you got some offense that's being put up, but it's not by the names that you normally would think, offensively speaking, that are going to put up any kind of big numbers for the Brewers. So you thank God for Jackie Bradley Jr. bouncing back and Garcia bouncing back and Travis Shaw and the numbers that he's been able to put up. Otherwise, you have no idea where this team would be. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, go ahead and feel free to do so. 877-867-1670. Stay tuned. Got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Stole a car, somebody got away, somebody didn't get too far.
Got a question here from Mark. He writes, hey, Bill, anybody from the WEAC going to be drafted? That's a great question. You've got the kid out of UW Oshkosh that is, what is it, Amir Hollowell? Amir Hollowell, he's a kid that's getting a lot of look. Big offensive tackle out of UW Oshkosh. And then out of UW Whitewater, you're going to get Quinn Mirnez, the guard. Is it Minez? Miners? Quinn Miners, I think is how you pronounce it. Miners. And I'm sorry, I butchered the hell out of his name. And Quinn, you deserve better. Quinn Miners, the kid out of UW Whitewater. So you're going to have two of them, most likely, drafted in this year's NFL draft that are coming out of the WEAC. So, yeah, you get a little representation there. Not a bad way to go. Little notoriety. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. This is a weird one. This is from Cincy Dave, who says, do you think that the Green Bay Packers are going to choose a wide receiver or defensive lineman? If you had to pick either in the first round of the draft, which would it be? And which do you prefer, Home Depot or Menards? What the hell kind of question is that? First of all, let's go back to your first question, wide receiver or defensive lineman. If you have two quality there, which you probably will at the end of the first round of the draft, I don't care which one you go with as long as you go with best available. If the best choice that's on the board is a wide receiver versus, a lower rated defensive lineman, then go wide receiver, and then vice versa. I get one or the other. I don't care. If those are your two choices, I don't think you can go wrong. If you have quality talent at the end of the first round of the draft, I don't think you can go wrong with either. I guess you can, but at least you're doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Now, if the best available player at the end of the first round of the draft is a tight end, and you reach for a guy that was a mid-second round draft choice, say as an offensive or a defensive lineman or a wide receiver, then I think you're doing your team a disservice. You go with the best available player. And I've always said that. But otherwise, I hate to say I don't care, but I don't care. Just get the talent. And as far as Home Depot or Menards, depends on what I'm going there for. I go to Home Depot if I want to know how to do something. And like the table, and for those of you that follow me over on the Facebook fan page, I made this table a while back. It's kind of a farmhouse / industrial table. And I put it together with pipes and boards, and I built it myself. And I kind of had the drawing and the sketch in my head. And it's just something I wanted for down in the great room. Anyway, I went to Home Depot because they cut the pipes there for you. They thread them, and everything is cut to spec. So it was fantastic. I get a lot of great service when I go to the paint department. That's where I bought my lawn tractor. But if I want something where I need a big selection, and it's not something I need specific information about, I go to Menards. I mean, where I live, they're right across the street from one another. So sometimes it's just a matter of whose parking lot is more full. I'll go to the opposite. And if I want to go look at lumber, I go indoors to Home Depot, especially in the wintertime, versus outdoor to Menards. Does that answer your question? So I use them both. Menards being a little more of the hometown team, so to speak, but I've got some good friends and people that recognize me and say hi to me every time I walk into Home Depot. So And they give me great service there. So, here's the one thing, and I will mention this. I have found this to be true during the pandemic. Where in the hell did customer service go? It's like people just had the right to get lazy or to blame it on something else as to why they can't help you. It's customer service in this country sucks. And I'm telling you right now, if anybody comes along that really gives good quality customer service, they're going to own it. They'll own it because nothing beats a face and a hello and a what can I do for you and such. Nothing beats it right now. I am so willing to overpay and pay extra and tip more for really good customer service. It seems like all that this pandemic has done is allow people, because I got back on social media to where I was responding to things when I was getting ready to fly home yesterday. I can't believe how people are just nasty. People are just nasty to be nasty. You know what I mean? They're just people. It's like, why would you say that? Why would you type that out and then hit enter? Just because you just want to be an ass, or some people just want to be nasty. So I'm probably a lot like you, where I've just taken to the point where I'm just eliminating nasty. I'm eliminating a lot of that stuff in general. Just getting rid of it. You and me, man, that's it. That's all we need. Get the negativity out of the life. And customer service, we're willing to go over and above for. So there you go. We still got another hour yet to go in the program and a lot to get to. We'll talk some more Brewers baseball. We have not talked at all about the Bucks. The Bucks got beat by Memphis. Giannis is back. So that was a nice development while I was gone. You got some of these guys that are starting to come back together. Are you concerned at all? See, I look at it as this is exactly what you wanted. You wanted a lot of these guys to come back from injury, even though Dante DiVincenzo didn't play the other night. You want them to come back. You want them to hopefully get healthy and start hitting their stride together. Hitting their stride together. Tom, you're 100% correct. He says nastiness, especially on social media, it's easy to hide behind a keyboard. I was saying this the other day because there's some people that see my Facebook page or my Twitter account and they're like, how do you deal with that? And I just delete it or I just block them, because if you're going to continue to do that and you're just a jerk to be a jerk, then I just get rid of you. You're just not allowed on the page anymore and you're gone. Go find somebody else to be nasty to. But I will say this, because one of the guys said, well, how many times has this ever happened to you personally? I have never. Zero. Anybody that's ever said really nasty things to me on social media never, ever has said anything in my face. Never. Not once. Not once. They don't have enough balls to. Because there's always the chance that they end up getting into some kind of argument or fight, or you just say, you know what, I'm going to have you escorted out of here. You're gone. Because nobody just needs to be that kind of a jerk. And you certainly wouldn't do it in front of people, even though your name's attached to it on social media. But half the time they hide behind fake names. So I agree with you. I completely agree with you. We got an hour, 3 hours down, 1 hour yet to go. Hang in there. We're going to do a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. Stay tuned. Right after this, we'll talk some Bucks basketball. Got to do a little Bucks, right? We're not going to do a lot, but we've got to do a little bit of Bucks. Stay tuned. Got more right after this.
Kyle Freeland.
The fourth hour, the last hour of the Bill Michaels Show, as we continue on this Monday. Welcome back. Cinderella Man says, that's because you're 6'4", absolute unit. 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", actually. He says, somebody talking smack to you in person is going to result in one of three things. You hitting them, they hitting the pavement, and the ambulance hitting 60. You know what? Here's the thing. I have, unless attacked, I'm not one to go around punching people. But you're right in the sense that nobody has the balls to come up and say that to your face. Nobody does. Stuff like that. I completely agree. I've always put it out there where I'll point them out on social media and just say you're a coward. Because if that's the only way you can say, and it's not like people don't know where you're at. You know what I mean? They just don't. My schedule's always out there. This is where I'm going to be. This is what's going on. I've been doing public appearances and shows in public and golf outings and for 21 years. Not one has ever said anything. So when it comes to answering Matt's question about how do you put up with some of the idiots, they never say anything. They're cowards. They're all little, just scared little cowards driving around in their trucks and sitting in their mom's basement, and they got their big boy Twitter muscles on, and after that, they go away. Who cares? 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. This is from Mark, who says, is it me or did it get cold outside? No, Mark, I think it did. Isn't the temperature supposed to drop to the point where I think over the next couple of days we're going to be below normal? I was reading that when I got home, if I'm not mistaken. It's supposed to be below normal over the next couple of days and then start to warm up a little bit. But we're like mid-50s, I think, is this time of year. I think that's where it's supposed to be. It's tough. I'll admit that, because it was 84 every day. Well, I shouldn't say every day. It wasn't like I was down there a month. It was 84 and sunny for the last 3 days. That when I was down in Florida, and it was really, really nice. It was really nice. But it's not like, when you get back, you're like, oh, sure. Boy, I'm so used to Florida weather. Nah, it's the time of year. It was nice to get back. I was in shorts and a t-shirt yesterday, and I got back. I think it was 56 degrees. That's tolerable as Wisconsinites go. That's not bad, right? Brett says we had snow today in Eau Claire. No accumulation, but snow today. I think that weather is headed this way because as the day goes on, it's supposed to continue to drop. It was warmer this morning than it is now. I left the dogs out this morning when I got up at 5:30 to go to, or 5:45-ish to go to the dentist. And I got to go back again when I get off the air today. But yeah, it was warmer out this is now, as it is brisk, and the wind has picked up a little bit. Mark writes in the email inbox, he says, what do you think of the Packers' chances of acquiring one of the top 3 wide receivers in this year's draft? I don't know if there's going to be many guys that are available that are going to make this team a lot better in the here and the now, but certainly there is going to be some up there that would be of the same level of talent as Davante Adams. Thoughts? Well, when you talk about the same level of talent as Davante Adams, you would love to see another Davante Adams emerge. No doubt about that. I don't think I'm expressing anything that's not master of the obvious here. But as far as being able to project who that is, I don't, like some of the talent that's in this draft, when you talk about wide receiver, okay? Yeah, I mean, Jamar Chase, the kid out of LSU, he was the Blitnikoff Award winner, led the country a few years ago in receiving yards and touchdown catches. But he's going to be a top 5, top 10. He's not going to fall to the Packers. Like Devonta Smith, the kid out of Alabama, he's not falling to the Packers. So you got to start looking down the list a little bit, and you start thinking about some of the guys that could possibly be hanging around as the end of like Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss. He might be a kid that is hanging around between 20 and 30. Okay. We already talked about a couple of these other guys. Terrence Marshall Jr. out of LSU. The Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver out of Minnesota. He seems to be a guy that some people are high on. Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver out of Florida. What is it? Diami Brown. He's a wide receiver out of North Carolina, but I think he's more of a second round talent than he is a first round talent, which is the reason you may see, like Barmore, if he's still available, the defensive tackle out of Alabama, he might, if he's available, chances are the Packers go in that direction, unless one of these highly, highly talented wide receivers fall to them in the latter portion of the first round. But you know what? I mean, look at it this way. As much as we put a ton of pressure on the first round draft choice, but where you make your bones as a general manager is the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth round. Now, if you can find a contributing member at 6 and 7, you're really doing something as a general manager. But you need to have a team that is continually ascending. You need to find a Pro Bowler, at least one, in almost every draft. You need to find 3 starters in a draft, but you need to find almost a Pro Bowler, at least one, in every draft to continue success as a team. You can't just find a bunch of role players if you don't have stars, because you need a star to lead them. Unless, of course, you're going out and buying them in free agency. We all know the Packers aren't doing that. Which is why you're always looking for a guy that's going to ascend, and you always want to find a Pro Bowler in every draft. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. So you look at what Brian Gutekunst has done. Now, many believe you've got a really solid draft if A.J. Dillon continues to ascend, Josiah DeGuara comes back, Kamal Martin, who played pretty well and kind of came on at the end of last season after suffering the knee injury early on out of Minnesota. He had a knee coming in. He ended up rehabilitating and being pretty good, but he was behind the curve. John Runyon played admirably when called into duty, right? So your 2020 draft, while it didn't produce your Pro Bowler yet, certainly provided some depth. Now, Rashawn Gary, Darnell Savage Jr., Elkin Jenkins, those guys all have the ability to be Pro Bowlers. Jair Alexander, he's your Pro Bowler in 2018. Then there's Josh Jackson, Oren Burks, Jamon Moore, Cole Madison. None of that worked out. You obviously have the punter in J.K. Scott, but he was a 5th-round draft choice, and who cares about punters in the 5th round? What you're hoping for is that Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Equinemius St. Brown really begin to ascend in their 4th year. Really begin to ascend. Because if they fill the bill at the wide receiver position, and in addition to that, you then have Devontae Adams, who eventually you would assume they're going to give him a contract extension. And as soon as that's worked out, then you believe if those 2 guys ascend, you pick up another wide receiver, that those guys are then going to be a good trio of wide receivers, a good foursome of wide receivers. So, the multifaceted talents that, Aaron Rodgers is looking for, that he can trust, for God's sakes. but you got to have a consistent Pro Bowler per draft that's going to ascend into that. What is the position of need? Matty Ice says inside linebacker. Johnny says QB1, plan for the future. A receiver that can catch a short pass and take it to the house. If the Packers draft a guy like that in the early rounds, this offense is unstoppable. Packers don't have a number 2 wide receiver, and I don't think MBS scares anybody. Too inconsistent and a one-trick pony. Evan said, I think defensive line is going to be the position this year that goes 2 and 3 players drafted. John says defensive lineman, inside. Chris C says always has been an inside linebacker. Troy says top 3 positions, linebacker, offensive line, defensive line. Zach says cornerback, they got to pick up. Thomas says got to get a playmaker, a leader, a football player, a player that rallies the team. And Fisher J-Man says, I want to know how good Jordan Love is. Have any other players or coaches made comments on his progress? No. I mean, the only people that I've ever heard say anything about Jordan Love's prowess has been some of the media members, and it depends on who you talk to. Some have said, yeah, he looks pretty good, like for what limited roles you've seen him in. And others have said, yeah, the term that I hear brought up early on last year has been the term swimming. And if you don't know what swimming refers to, if they say he's swimming, it means mentally you don't get it. You don't get it. You're swimming. Your head is just swimming. You're overloaded with information. You're just trying to stay afloat. You're swimming. So that's been the term that's been used about Jordan Love more often than not that I've heard. Now, maybe others have heard different. Who knows? But that's what I've heard more often than not. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You can hit us up. Nicholas says, at what point does the saga with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers end? He said, I'm sick of hearing about it every morning, and nobody has any new information. They just all have different opinions that seem to sway back and forth depending on what day it is. That's the reason, Nicholas, I've tried to, last week and even this week, starting it off, I've tried to kind of remain away from that because there is nothing new. I mean, if something comes out, if Aaron Rodgers states, I'm currently in contract negotiations to host Jeopardy, okay, we got something to talk about. If Aaron Rodgers says, you know what, the team isn't even talking to me, they don't want anything to do with me, I'm pissed off, I wanted to remain a Packer for life, okay, we got something going on. If it leaks out that the Packers have been trying to talk to Aaron Rodgers and he doesn't want to talk to them, then we've got something to talk about. Right now, it's kind of speculative. A lot of this is just speculation that, well, maybe there's not a lot going on. And we don't think that anything is going to go on until after the draft. (877-867-1670), 877-867-1670. Ben writes in the email inbox, he says, hey, Bill, love the show. My namesake owns the place where your dogs used to go. Are you going to take them back anytime soon? I live in the Pewaukee area. I saw you there a couple of times when I was taking my Sparky there. He says, I think the Green Bay Packers are going to pick up another wide receiver or 2, a cornerback, a linebacker, and 2 defensive linemen. That should fill the bill for this team. First of all, Ben, appreciate the email. Secondly, I have not taken Elmo and Mickey back. And what he's talking about, there's a daycare called Barkin' Up Hickory, Barkin, and they're in Pewaukee. And Ben is the owner, not this Ben, but a different Ben. And Ben, there's very few people I trust my dogs with. For those that listen to the show, Mickey and Elmo are like my heart and soul, man. Those are my guys. And they're like my kids. And I don't turn them over to anybody, just anybody. While I was gone, my son watched them. And I've usually got some really close friends, if I have to go for a long period of time, that watch him. But I take them to Ben. And Ben treats them like they're his own. He treats them so well. but Mickey and Elmo are getting up there in age, and they just can't climb in and out of the car anymore. So I try to take them as infrequent as possible, and they get tired real easy. So they have not been to Ben's in probably a month and a half. But I do at some point want to get them back over there because they love going to see Ben. All I got to do is say, let's go see Ben, and they're just up and ready to go downstairs and go. So I appreciate the email regarding that. But when it comes to the Packers, I exactly what you said. Look, again, I don't have a specific, like last year, I wanted Patrick Queen. That was my guy. If you're going to go to the first round, that's the guy I want. That's what I wanted last season. This year, if they pick up Barmore, fantastic. If they pick up Rashad Bateman, great. If they pick up Zayvon Collins out of Tulsa, I'm okay. Terrence Marshall Jr., Jamin Davis, although I'm not big on linebackers coming out of Kentucky. Trevon Moehrig, the safety out of TCU. I'm good with that. Let's just say Najee Harris falls to them. Then what? Do you take Najee Harris, the running back out of Alabama, or do you go in a different direction, or do you trade out of that pick? There's Greg Newsome, the corner out of Northwestern. I'm good with that. I don't have anybody that I'm sitting here today going, you got to get this guy. Got to pick up this guy. Now, if Tevin Jenkins, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State, if he's there, take him. Solid offensive tackle. Solid offensive tackle. If Caleb Farley, the corner out of Virginia Tech, if he's there, if he falls, grab him. J.C. Horn out of South Carolina, grab him. I would be geeked about those guys, but I don't think they're going to be there. So I just don't think it's going to happen. By the way, Adrian Wojnarowski, when we're talking basketball, I was reading, just came across Indiana prepared to offer Brad Stevens $70 million. Indiana University to take over their basketball program. $70 million in college. If Brad Stevens, the head coach of the Boston Celtics, was interested in taking over in Indiana. Holy moly. Holy moly. That's a lot of gauge. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. We'll continue on. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gina Della from Pella, don't you just love fresh air and sunshine? It's so stimulating.
Absolutely. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin is in the fresh air and sunshine business.
Since when?
Since forever.
Seriously?
Think about it. By upgrading with Pella replacement windows, you can let the sun shine in as much as you want with blinds and shades between the glass.
And Pella's available roll screen lets you get a breath of fresh air when you need one. Then it rolls away out of sight when you don't.
Very stimulating.
Hey, wouldn't it be smart to use the latest stimulus check or your tax refund to invest in energy-efficient Pella windows and doors?
That's a great idea, especially now. Order by April 30th and get 6-year no-interest financing.
Pella now, pay later. Now that's a stimulating breath of fresh air.
Set your free consultation today at PellaWI.com/radio or 855-PELLA-WI.
Details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Hey, Quick Trip there, your official convenience store of summer. You know why? Because they have the lowest legal beer prices on all your favorite 24 and 30 packs. That's it. We're a drinking state, right? That's including Bud Light, our good friends. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. They are the official beer sponsor, and you can pick them up at your local Quick Trip, who has the lowest legal beer prices on your favorite 24 and 30 packs. And stop in and grab some. Use your Quick Rewards card. You're good to go. Speaking of that, and I had mentioned this to you a little while ago, and I apologize because I completely glossed over it, and I had a few of you remind me about it. And so I'm sorry. But an announcement for those of you living, well, really anywhere, but in the Milwaukee area. Here we go. So our first cigar dinner is going to take place as a golf event again this year. We're going to go to Ironwood Golf Course on Monday, June 28th. Monday night. I'll do the show live from Ironwood Golf Course that day, during the day, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Time. Get off the air, and then after that, we'll go out. We're going to play 9 holes on one of the 27 holes they have at Ironwood. And if you can get in more, you can get in more. And then after that, we have our cigar dinner that night. What a terrific day. Now, the tickets have not been released yet. It's going to be for a limited number of tickets, but it's going to be Monday, June 28th. We're going to be at Ironwood Golf Course in Sussex, which is just west of the Milwaukee area, just northwest of, say, Waukesha. We did this last year. It was a ton of fun. And you know what we've found? And let me kind of give you a hint on this. Now, we're going to be all over the state. We're going to be in La Crosse. We're going to be in Eau Claire. We're going to be in Madison. We're going to be in Wausau. And we're going to be in Sussex. Those are our areas that we're going to cover this year. But one of the things that we have found out, if you are a businessman, businesswoman, business person, whatever, And this is something cool to bring clients to. You know, buy a foursome for your clients, and it'll give you 9 holes of golf, a full dinner, cocktails, and cigars, and we kind of do our little one-on-one Q&A live show, if you will. All of that for one price. And so we are going to be again in Sussex at Ironwood Golf Course on Monday, June 28th. Put it on your calendars, and then when tickets go on sale, I will let you know as the details are being finalized. But that was just announced today. So good stuff. So when you talk about a return to normalcy, we've got the golf outing that we're already planning, and starting on Wednesday night, June 9th. They made the announcement today. It is the first Wednesday night live at the Wisconsin State Fair Park in the Budweiser Pavilion, as they are going to be kind of the test dummy for everything else, from State Fair to Summerfest to all the different festivals that are going to be taking place in the area and throughout the state. But they are back, and they are opening up, and it's going to kick off that Wednesday night. Cherry Pie is going to take the stage as they're going to open up that Bud Pavilion and open up that great big outdoor concert venue, and I cannot wait. What a terrific day of announcements on the program today. What a terrific day of announcements. I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Glad to have you. This one's from Kinger, who says if the Packers are going to take anybody in the draft, it better be a punter that can either punt it deep or to a corner or that can tackle. Which, there you go. I'm not taking a punter. You never take a punter in the draft. From years gone by, or Ray Guy taking a punter. You just don't do that. This is from Master Z, who says, I would take a wide receiver and a defensive lineman and stock up at both positions. That will allow you to win more football games. You already have a good running back situation. Tanyan is back, and you've got some pretty good offensive linemen. You need D tackles, beef up front, and another guy that can catch the ball opposite Devontae Adams, and you're going to be just fine. That's from Master Z. Master Z, appreciate the email. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Mark says, what did you think of the Jake Paul fight? Mark, I'll tell you this. How do I say this? Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing. Didn't watch it. I saw they had some UFC stuff on. I was in one of these sports bars in Florida over the weekend. They had some UFC stuff on. Beyond that, nah. Nope. Didn't have it. I mean, just sorry to burst your bubble, man. But I don't care. I don't care if it was Jake Paul versus Rand Paul. I don't care. It didn't matter to me. Oh, what else do we have here for you? This is Mike, who says, and Mike, by the way, listening to us down in Kenosha, Wisconsin, says, love you on the live stream. Facebook and YouTube are the ways to go. Subscribe on YouTube, and it pops up every morning. Thanks for being here and coming back to the radio and putting it on this platform. Do you think that the Packers will work out the deal with Aaron Rodgers prior to the NFL draft? No, I don't. I think what's going to happen is the draft is going to happen. They're going to know at what point you have to start getting guys in under contract. And then since they're not doing the workouts and the OTAs anyway, everything's being done virtually. So many teams are opting to not, many players are opting not to do this. So I don't think you're going to have to get these guys into a camp anytime soon. And you're not going to have to worry about putting them on the field and injuring themselves. So you don't have to have those contracts written into place. So no, probably not until after June 1st, or at least close to. I think we're going to be talking about this for the next 2-3 weeks, because there hasn't been there's nothing new. Unless they are like, if the Packers were a duck, are they just kind of cool and casual on top and they're paddling like crazy beneath the surface of the water? Or are they like a duck that is sitting with its bill tucked in its wing and they're sleeping at the wheel? You know? Because right now there's nothing. There is absolutely nothing new on that front. Nothing. It's disappointing, but no, I don't think anything's going to happen. I just don't. By the way, two different things. Aaron Donald of the LA Rams, he was mistaken when it comes to the identity of the person that assaulted Spriggs last week. We were talking about Donald being wanted by the police. It turns out when they went to the video, he was actually one of the guys breaking up the fight. So Aaron Donald is not a guy that's wanted by the police or is going to be charged with assault. He is the guy that was helping break up the fight. It was a case of mistaken identity. And so now we go from a guy that looked as if he was beating somebody up to a guy that should be commended because he was actually breaking the fight up. In the meantime, a warrant has been issued for the arrest of Seattle Seahawks defensive end Aldon Smith for an alleged second-degree battery assault that occurred in New Orleans on the evening of April 17th. In St. Bernard Parish, District Attorney Perry Nicosia confirmed that today, just a little while ago. So Aldon Smith now being wanted for battery from an altercation that happened on Saturday down in New Orleans. Apparently, he choked a victim unconscious during a confrontation that began inside a coffee house. And the warrant was signed by the court a day later. So there you go. So you got one guy that's being, and according to a wanted bulletin from the St. Bernard Parish Sheriff that was shared by WDSU Radio, Smith does not have a local address, but has relatives in the area. And Smith just signed a one-year deal with the Seahawks just 2 days earlier after, kind of resurrecting his career with the Cowboys in 2020. So Aldon Smith, he is wanted by the police, and Aaron Donald is being exonerated and praised by the police. Oh, how the tables have turned. There you go. So just that's from the police blotter portion of the program, by the way. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Couple of segments left to go in the Bill Michaels Show. Stay tuned for that right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Big Unit Bill Michaels here for Scholze Family Beef. Now, you can kick off the tailgate season, whether it's at the ballpark or in your backyard, with their bratwurst. There's 4 different flavors available: beef, blue cheese, pork, and beer brats. They have pre-formed burger patties as well, skinless wieners for the kids, and even snack sticks and jerky. That's all awesome. But if you're a meat griller, Scholze Family Beef has steaks for grilling, roasts, brisket, ribs, tomahawk ribeyes for smoking. Also, Fox Smokehouse barbecue sauce and salty provision seasoning. Well, farm, they touch. Come on by. Stop by the farm. I'm not kidding. Stop in and check out the farm store, a good old-fashioned farm store. Whether you drive or ride a motorcycle or even an ATV, come on in and sit a spell. If you want delicious pasture-raised beef delivered to your doorstep, order today and you'll get it in a couple of days. Go to ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That is Scholze, SCHOLZE, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. From their family farm to your family's table. That is Scholze Family Beef.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Giannis Antetokounmpo has returned, which is good news for the Bucks. They knock off the Timberwolves and beat the hell out of the Timberwolves, and then Giannis comes back from that 6-game absence for win over the Hawks, and they lose to the Grizzlies. And Giannis, 21.5 points, 8 boards, and 5 assists, and he's shooting 57%. Drew Holiday continues to play extremely well, and Brook Lopez, has gotten a little bit hot here down the stretch. So some good things happening for the Bucks. You just got to put it all back together. I mean, it's kind of up and down. They look really good one moment, and then they then they don't the next. But the good news for the Bucs is that they're getting everybody back, even though DiVincenzo, who was out of the lineup the other day, hopes to be back tonight. But you get everybody back, you start trending in the right direction. And I talked about this, playing the rotation. Then you get that rotation back and get into a rhythm before you get to the postseason. You know? So you start to look at everybody's power rankings and everybody's bouncing around. The Sixers are playing better basketball. And you know, even though the Sixers are, you know, beating the Mavericks, the Nets, the Clippers, it's no easy task. Joel Embiid kind of comes back and starts to play extremely well, you know, but they were beating teams that were a little bit banged up too. You know, the Nets, now you've got Kevin Durant down again, you know. So, I mean, Joel Embiid, you know, was too much for down the stretch for them the other night. They also fell to the Heat when Adebayo, he hit that buzzer beater. And, you know, James Harden's still out with a hamstring issue. Kevin Durant now missing a game because of that thigh contusion. Brooklyn just can't stay healthy and they can't play together. So you look at Boston, and Boston, you know what? They've been playing much better basketball too. You know, so they mounted a comeback of their own. They beat the Warriors on Saturday without Jaylen Brown for their 6th straight win. Boston rolling right now, and there's a lot of talk about their head coach and the money that was going to be offered to him if he went to Indiana, about $70 million in that contract, and so there's a lot of things swirling around the Celtics right now, but. You know, you look at some of the top teams in everybody's power rankings. Obviously, the Clippers and the Suns are right there. The Jazz are right there. The Nuggets are right there. The Knicks are ascending. The Lakers, you know, the Lakers, give them credit. They're holding down the fort right now with the 2 superstars on the shelf. So they're kind of hanging in there. But, I mean, the bottom line for a lot of these teams is get healthy and get ready for the postseason. If you got somebody banged up right now, you want to get, for the most part, you want to get them back with a few games remaining, get into a rhythm, and really start to hit the ground running, and then get yourself into the postseason and see what kind of damage you can do. But that's where I'm at with the Bucs. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, feel free. Bring it to us. But you know, beyond that, as far as your Bucs update goes, I'm just waiting for everybody to get healthy and see what they can do. Brewers back at it tonight. Brewers out in San Diego this evening. You're going to stay up late and watch that one. 9:10 first pitch at Petco Park. Brandon Woodruff looking for his first win of the season. 0-0 with a 2.12 ERA. The righty Joe Musgrove, who is 2-1 with a 0.47 ERA going to the hill tonight for San Diego. And it is also Jackie Bradley Jr.'s birthday. He's been on a bit of a tear as of late. And Vogelbach, or Vogelback, if you want to call it correctly, he belted his first 2 homers of the season yesterday. And it marked his 5th 2-homer game of his career. So hopefully he continues on his torrid pace. Corbin Burns going to make his 4th start of the season coming up tomorrow. So the Brewers looking to try to get back to their winning ways. Only a game behind Cincinnati in the Central right now. Trying to overtake the Reds. Hopefully the Brewers can continue to play winning baseball after getting knocked off 2 out of 3 against the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates. Although you can't call them the lowly anymore, can you? Can't say the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates. Because the Pirates right now, they're ahead of, and it pleasures me to say this, they're ahead of the Chicago Cubs. Liking that. Cardinals are on the road tonight. They're taking on the Nationals. Flaherty goes tonight for the Cardinals with that 4.11 ERA, but a 2-0 record. Ross, the righty, on the hill for the Nationals. As Strasburg, by the way, has some issues as well, so Strasburg's going to the injured list, in case you didn't see that out of Washington. And that's it as far as the National League Central goes. Everybody else off tonight except for the Brewers. So no Pittsburgh tonight, no Cincinnati, and no Chicago, as those teams are going to get back at it tomorrow. Tomorrow they will. You've got Cincinnati. They're at home. The Diamondbacks come calling. Pittsburgh's on the road, taking on Detroit. And then the Cubs are going to be at Wrigley. They're hosting the Mets tomorrow at Wrigley. So that's when they'll be back in action. But Brewers on the road tonight, taking on the San Diego Padres. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Final segment of the Bill Michaels Show on this Good Monday. Good Monday to you. How are we looking? This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends at Scholze Family Farms Beef. Scholze Family Beef. Go to ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That is Scholze, SCHOLZE, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. And I've been telling you about Scholze for a while now. For the last couple of years, as a matter of fact. And look, tailgate season is even though the weather sucks and it's the temperature's dropping and we know there's flurries in the forecast and all that kind of crap, it's going to get nice. It's going to get better. And we know that. And when it does, you're going to want all kinds of different things to tailgate with, whether it's at home or at the ballpark. You got 4 flavors of brats: beef, blue cheese, pork, and beer brats. I've never had blue cheese brats before I read this commercial, and then I got some in the mail. As it's, kind of, shipped to your door, so to speak. Oh, they're good. Oh, my goodness. They're good. And preformed beef patties. So if you want to make some hot dogs or make some hamburgers, you can do that. Hot dogs, skinless hot dogs for the kids who may not like the skinned wieners, if you will. And they got snack sticks, beef jerky, all that kind of good stuff. They've got that. They've got steaks for grilling. Oh, my goodness, they have steaks for grilling. They got fillets. They've got New York strips. They've got prime ribs. They've got all kinds of different stuff. Roast, brisket, ribs themselves. The tomahawk ribeye, oh, so good. Smoke those things. Use that Fox Smokehouse barbecue sauce. Slather that stuff up. Oh, making myself hungry. And the salty provision seasonings, that's available as well. And being a family farm, I've said this time and again, it's like Mayberry, man. They want you to stop by. Come on by, sit a spell, hang out, see the farm store, a genuine farm store, And whether you're out there driving up in a car or an SUV or on a motorcycle, they're going to make you feel at home. You can order it. You can have it shipped, or even on the ATV. They have ATV trails out in the central Wisconsin portion over there in Humbird, Wisconsin, Black River Falls area. Stop by. Just stop by. Tell them we sent you. But if you're from parts unknown, and you're in a far, far away land, and if you want to order this stuff and have it shipped to your door, it'll arrive in just a couple of days. You can do that as well. Go to ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That is Scholze, SCHOLZE, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. Again, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. From their family farm to your family table, this stuff is oh so good. More of the Bill Michaels Show. Final segment coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Summers in Wisconsin are simply spectacular. Tailgates, picnics, weekends on the lake, or just sitting around the fire pit with neighbors, enjoying some great conversation. Yeah, well, your official convenience store of summer, Quick, celebrating lowest prices on your favorite 24 and 30 packs all summer long, including Bud Light, Busch Light, Miller Light, Coors Light, Quick Trip, convenience, and low prices. Like the lowest prices on 24 and 30 packs. Quick Trip, big on fresh, big on summer.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to Bill Michaels Show. You can follow us on numerous platforms, YouTube and on Twitch. Please subscribe. You can subscribe free of charge, by the way, over on YouTube or on Twitch TV. You can find us at either. And always, appreciate you, being supportive of the program. Good weekend this weekend. If you didn't get a chance to see the RBC Heritage at Harbortown Golf Links in Hilton Head, Stuart Sink won. He was 19 under, but the neat moment was because his son was on the bag. His son was caddying for him, and he had his family there, and his wife was, crying. And, as they came up 18, he was ahead, by more than a few strokes, obviously. But he comes up on 18, and his son is there, and he's hugging his son, and his wife is talking about the moment between the two, the fact that, their son was caddying, and they got to share that week, if you will, with him caddying for dad. It's kind of a cool moment. If you didn't get a chance to see it, I highly recommend maybe going back and catching some of the highlights, but just kind of a cool weekend when it came to the world of golf. So good stuff. Really, really good stuff. And then kudos this weekend to the Chubb Classic winner, which is our own Steve Stricker. Steve Stricker pockets $240,000 by winning the Chubb Classic. That was in Naples, Florida. It was right up the road from where I was at. He's probably hanging down at Barry Alvarez's house. I think Barry's got a house down there in Naples. But kudos to Steve Stricker, who wins this weekend as well. So nice stuff there, Steve being on the Champions Tour. So you got Stuart Sink winning on the PGA Tour and the RBC Heritage. And then on the Champions Tour, you got Steve Stricker winning in the Chubb Classic. Two great stories this weekend. Didn't really talk about it too much, but two great stories this weekend. So really neat stuff there. Hey, coming up tomorrow on the program, obviously we're going to talk about Game 1 as the Brewers are going on to the West Coast, and they've got injuries to deal with. They've got Christian Yelich on the injury list. Colton Wong, Lorenzo Cain. Keston Hiura's not hitting. Vogelback is starting to hit the baseball. You've got others that are, but Avisail Garcia has hit safely in 8 of his last 9 games. So you've got right now, I mean, the Brewers have outscored their opponents 17-1 in the first inning this season. The only run allowed in the first inning of the Brewers by the Brewers came on the 4th of April against Minnesota. Otherwise, they're outscoring their opponents in the first inning. The problem is they're not hanging on to it. And once they do outscore their opponent and get some runs in the first inning, they don't get anything after that. So this team needs to, that's what I'm saying. They need to be more consistent throughout, as they're going to throw up this week. Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns, and Adrian Hauser at the Padres. So, but right now you got Lorenzo Cain. He's got the left quad injury. Even the outfielder Derek Fisher, the hamstring. You've got who else? You got numerous play. Christian Yelich, the lower back, all on the injured list. Colton Wong with the oblique. You got other players as well, but those are the ones of note. So hopefully this team can get the win. By the way, they are 8-1 if they out-hit their opponent, but hitting has been few and far between. If they are out-hit by their opponent, they have yet to win a game. They are 0-6 on the season. Keep that in mind as you start counting up hits. 0-6 on the season. There you go. That's it. Good to be back from vacation. Good to be talking to you. I appreciate you listening to us and paying attention to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all of our fine stations, including our flagship station out of Madison, The Zone in Madison. Until we talk again tomorrow and begin to break it all down, time for us to go.